so we can make sure it's all working. And we have our first guest coming in fitting minute. But I have agenda items to cover before that. We're organized. I figured that the three of us are not the experts on lists at LVO, so I have other people to come tell us about them. Right? Yes, that's also true. We should, we are currently live, so we should maybe stop our, our, yeah, but I'm literally about to apologize for things I said about Frontline in like 30 seconds. We've said for a long time that the beginning of every episode should be like, here's what we got wrong last time. I spelled extravaganza wrong. That's embarrassing. Extravaganza. I gotta tell you, it took me till like 40 years old to be able to spell the word beautiful when I need it. Okay. Yeah. Next word. That's great. All right. We're on Twitch, I think. Let's find out. Oh man, I hope more than 3 people are going to watch. We're on Twitch, I think. Yeah, 4 would be fine. Oh, I'm Dormithrax, not BIFPOD today. That's weird. Oh, they can't hear Chuck or Mitch. That's not good. Why is that again? Let me think. I remember we've had this problem a number of times, and I go over here.
Right click on the Who's It.
I bet they can hear you now.
I hope so.
So what I was saying about 10th edition was,
How about now? Can you guys hear Mitch and Chuck now? All can be heard. Huzzah!
Damn, I tried.
All right, I'm going to go close the door, and we're literally going to get started right now. So
Awesome.
Buckle up.
All right. I don't actually have a seatbelt on my computer chair.
you don't have one of those race car chairs? Like,
No.
are you even live
Absolutely.
streaming then? Like, I mean, I don't understand. Like, how do they
Cuts
even let
deep.
us on
That
Twitch?
cuts deep.
Look, you laugh, Airborne 248, if that is even your real name. But I have to tell you, muting Chuck and Mike, or Chuck and Mitch, I don't even know who Mike is. Chuck and Mitch
100%, man.
is an important button that everyone should have.
I mean, I personally wish I had it in my life. Every once in a while. I'd be surprised at Mitch most of the time. They're like, what?
All right, we're getting started here. And I'm gonna talk about the COVID thing before the intro. So just bear with me. Hey everybody, Colin here, and this is just a little bit of a I'm not gonna do it that way. One more time. Hey everybody, Colin here, and I just wanted to say a couple things before we get started because I want this to be a separate topic than our 100th episode, which I know that I speak for Mitch and Chuck when I say that we are all deeply excited to put on for you, and I want that episode to be fun and light and silly, and I want it to not talk about COVID. So in the spirit of it not talking about COVID, I want to talk about COVID for under 5 minutes, but I want to start with apologizing to Frontline Gaming. So on the last episode, I was a little worked up about COVID on that day, and on many days, every day. I'm a little worked up every day on COVID. About COVID? Yeah. And
You're on the COVIDs.
Yes, the Ronas is what we call it in my house, is the Rona. Anyways, and I said that they didn't follow at the New Orleans Open, that they did not follow New Orleans' rules for events. Now, I've looked back at that, and Reese reached out to me, and we had an incredibly calm and professional and kind conversation, and he believes firmly that they did, and I've looked back, and I understand where he's coming from on that. So the policy was actually that if the hotel checked this is what I mean. I've been told, I'm not an expert in this topic, is if the hotel checked vaccination cards, that masks were not mandated. That was the rule. Now, on a personal level, I think that's preposterously stupid. But on a Frontline following what they said they would do, which was follow the city and events rules, they had done that. I will tell you that I'm still disappointed in the New Orleans Open because I have a lot of friends that went there, and I simply asked them, and almost none of them had an experience of having a vaccination card checked. In fact, I'm not going to name names, but a number of my friends came back from that tournament with COVID. So, if you guys are going to go to LVO, please know that Frontline does care, and they are going to require masks. It is going to be a penalty if you don't wear one, and they are going to encourage you to be distanced, and their food areas are separated out. Don't use them, but the food areas are separated out. So, if you're going to go to LVO, we just ask that you're safe. Chuck and I aren't going to be there. Because we have medical conditions and families and things that mean that it's not worth the risk for us. But we encourage you guys to go and have a great time. If you're going, I would simply say that you should not eat around other people. If you look at the data, that's the main way you're going to get sick. And you should wear a mask. You should wear 2 masks if you're comfortable doing so. And you should not touch other people, and don't touch their models, and don't touch their dice. And all of that together, Go do that and have an absolutely great time. So that's what's going on there. Now we're going to start with the episode. Thank you all for listening to me on that. Now, we're not going to mention COVID unless one of our guests, which we have a bunch of today, brings it up. So that's it. Thank you for putting up with me on that. And sorry, Frontline, I did not mean to misspeak about what the situation was. I'm still disappointed in the facility. I'm still disappointed in the thing that happened, but I don't have any negativity or malice towards Frontline Gaming about that. Okay. Now I've prepared a different intro from normal at the request of our listeners. And here it goes. It's the Best Infection Show with our regular hosts, Colin, Chuck, and Mitch. Yay! There we go. That's how we're going to start today. I think that's great. Isn't that good?
Oh, yeah.
Wonderful.
It's wonderful, right? So, I don't actually do a Kermit impression. That was terrible. But the one thing I've been saying since I was a kid is the hi-ho, Kermit the Frog here. And I do that great, but everything else is hard because I don't actually do impressions. I just know how to make that one series of sounds.
Well, yeah, Kermit really rounds out while being very broad in his pronunciation.
Yeah.
It's not necessarily an easy thing to do while also having that sort of soft voice that he has. He's so comforting.
If we want to be really nerds about this, he's got rolling diphthongs. So
fair.
Yeah. Oh, So those of you that are watching live are now going to be rewarded because I have the most precious biscuit here who would like to come say hello to the podcast. This is the precious and wonderful Yabba Dabba. She is actually officially named Abby Dawn, which you'll all get now, because she's black. See? That's why she's called Abby Dawn. So, she would like to be here, and thank you guys for listening and helping us get to 100 episodes, right, Abby? Mm-hmm. That's right. Okay, I'm going to put you down
as long as I get my snuggles, whatever.
Yeah, that's right. So, this is actually going to be a really hard way for me to do the podcast, so let's do this. Chuck, how you doing? What's new with you?
Well, I'm doing all right. It's point preview day, subfaction preview day. It's been a roller coaster of a day for an orc player. But I'm excited to have, but we'll probably see previews tomorrow of books and stuff, and we can start putting together and looking at what the new meta looks like. So I always enjoy that a lot. So I'm pretty excited for.
Well, because there's always a moment, right, where there's always like an hour where you think some model that you love that's never been good is going to be good, and you start hobbying on it, and then it's never good.
I'm going to tell you before it even happens.
The Scorpius is not good.
I think obliterators are going to work.
Okay, but please don't bring another Scorpius against me till we've had an intervention from Art of War.
The Scorpius Obliterator army.
It's the new meta.
No, actually, I think that new Chaos Secondary really rewards close combat.
Okay.
So I think if Chaos is going to go anywhere, you're going to be looking at like Raptors, Warp Talons, and Possessed. But we'll see.
Someone says that they're going to LVO or not being touched seems weird. Which I think is great. Okay, Mitch, how are you? What's new with you?
Oh, I'm doing okay. Getting ready for LVO on the judges' end of things.
Mm-hmm.
Answering a lot of questions. It's great when two codexes that are, not complex at all. There's no rules depth there. Not any interactions that have questions that certainly haven't been answered yet officially. It's been great. I'm really enjoying getting back into judge mode and going through the spreadsheet and answering all the questions and seeing where people are confused on the game and what new stuff is going to be problematic or things that we have to keep an eye on as far as making sure people get the rules correct. I think it's very interesting how right off the bat, Gene Stealer Cult seemed like everyone was like, it's so complicated, it's too much. And then people are like, have you looked at like how layered and subtle Custodes can be? Like how many different rules interactions that are there? Because they have 1/10 the models and 10 times the rules, it feels like half the time. So all those two books are really cool. I play Custodes, so I'm really excited to see the new book and to see them be good and to see everyone who spent the last 6 months listening to certain people say that it was going to be this awful book and they're going to suck, and then it comes out and everyone's like, oh, it's pretty good. This seems like it's got some sauce there. There's a little bit of going on with these bikes and dudes.
I think when people see the names of the people that are taking Custodes to LVO, they will believe that Custodes are S tier. That's where I think we're at on this. We'll see if anybody on this episode is comfortable sharing their LVO list that plays Custodes. A little foreshadowing there.
Well, what I think is funny is looking back on the conversations that we saw in at least our community about like what Custodes needed to have to be competitive and all these different like concepts for rules. And it turns out that what they actually are is very different from that. But apparently, it has a lot of potential and a lot of play, and there is a lot of depth there for sure. I think that the thing that people really have to understand is the Sisters of Silence addition to Custodes is such a fundamental change in what the army is and how the army can play that you have to kind of re-rack all of your thinking to a certain degree when it comes to that army.
That makes sense. Well, we are 30 minutes out from talking about Custodes, so we'll come
back.
I'll stop there. Yeah, we'll come back to them.
Other than that, yeah, it's just all judge stuff. It's lots of questions about terrains, conversions. Hey, my super heavy that has a 12-inch, leg span was able to fit on a night base somehow. Is that okay? Uh, it's great.
Look, I made my Harden fit my Herodon. I need to say it differently on the show. I made my Herodon fit in Dawn of War. It works now. Huzzah!
My favorite was a 5-paragraph thesis on how the rules for Tyranids and the subsequent rules that have come out allow Swarmlord to take a relic. And my answer having to be having to be just no, you can't give Swarmlord a relic. After just a page of all of the different rules and wording sightings, and at the end going, we don't know why GW phrased this differently, but they did, so clearly there must be some intent there. And yeah, that was a fun one.
Excellent. I need to add our new guest in here. So
yeah.
Here's what's happening, guys. We have 5 guests on this episode, not counting Gabba, who's still over here sleeping next to me adorably. So we have one basically for every 20 episodes we've put on. That's the math. And each of them is going to talk about different stuff, but the main thing they're going to do is prepare us for LVO. We're going to talk about every one of the factions that this group believes is kind of a top tier faction, what you should expect, what to watch out for. That's the level of prep that we're going to do here on the episode, but we're going to do it with a lot of silliness, and our listeners have also provided us with just a entertaining number of questions to ask these people, and some of them are even 40K related. So
that's disappointing.
Yeah, so we're going to kick it off with a man who I believe is one of the most important guests we've ever had. Don't you guys think?
Oh.
I think that I can't make his video work, so I have to stop talking long enough to figure out what I'm doing. And then I will intro you, Nick. You have to wait just one moment. Because I don't know what's happening at all. But Nick,
you spoiled it, though.
Well, Nick's window's huge. I just don't...
It is huge.
It's got a huge window.
I've always said that about your window, Nick. I've always said that. Oh, we can't hear him, though. That's not good.
Well, it's our chance to trash talk. Nick and his giant window.
Can you hear me now?
We can hear you now. You're going
to hear you.
Echoing, and then I'm going to click this button, and now you're not. Okay. So,
can you see me?
We can see you and hear you.
Wow.
The technology is amazing. By the way, everyone who's watching live, I think it's likely that we're going to have nothing but tech problems as I try to add people and remove them throughout the episode.
I was about to make the same kind of joke.
So be ready for that. So, yeah. We started the show, Mitch and I. Chuck didn't come on till later, and we were moving along, and people were listening, but a lot of our listeners were Pacific Northwest people initially. And I met Nick, and we had Nick on the show, and there was some big release that I don't remember. It was one of those things where they're like, here, everything's been rebalanced. And we had Nick on, and we did this 2-hour episode that got 5 times the number of listens we had ever gotten before. So ever since then, Nick has done Charity Hammer with us. And meanwhile, off on the East Coast in Florida, of all places, Nick's been building Art of War. And so I thought it'd be fun. Years after we helped advertise for Nick helped advertise for us. We thought it'd be fun to have him on, kick off the 100th episode, and here we've been now on the air for 3 years. What's happened to Art of War in that time?
A lot. I can't believe it's been 3 years since you launched this thing off. Time flies.
Yeah.
Art of War started. Art of War exists. We now have a whole team. It's really cool. We got me, Siegs, John Lennon, Jack Harpster moved down here. We got Mark Perry. And then some people abroad, too. Like Brad Chester's up in Ohio, Scary in Canada, Alex in Canada, moving into Australia and stuff. It's really cool. And we have a whole community of people who are just trying to get better at 40K. And not just competitively win all tournaments. Just trying to enjoy the hobby more, enjoy your games more, just be better gamers. And be a cool community. I'm super proud of it.
Well, it seems like your YouTube is suddenly a lot of things, rather than 3 months ago it was some things. It seems like you guys are suddenly making a ton more content, and I thought it'd be fun to ask you about that.
Yeah, we are trying to really increase content production. We've been doing battle reports and live stream games for so long, and we still do that. That's a big part of our content. but like there's so much more room for growth with it if you go into all the different aspects of 40k you can teach and stuff. Then we can be personalities with it too. Like when
Well, that's the
Logan
question
RP in
I think
3
is
days.
most important to that, Nick. How
What?
soon will you have the new missions done on the how to play this mission?
Well, I want to start that series like literally the day after we get
Yeah,
there.
I am.
so-
I need that before I go to a tournament. That's I'm
I
putting that
gotcha.
out there. I need to know.
That is ASAP.
At the moment, I would just settle for someone reading them to me, because I think we've only seen pieces of them, right?
We've seen 2 missions in full out of the 9.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, that's great. So, what has been? So now you run a 40k business and don't play in tournaments that often.
I
Like,
would like to.
well, that's what you do, though, right? Your role in the community has changed,
Absolutely.
and you're like everybody's Uncle Nick now. So
Everybody's Uncle Nick.
there
I
you
feel
go.
old. I just had my birthday. Oh man.
Yeah, well, I think we know that our birthdays are near each other and many years apart. So, our birthdays are a day apart, but that's news to
Every
Nick
year.
every year.
Every year.
Every
It'll
year when
happen
my
again, I
birthday
promise.
happens, the day after Nick's, he goes, "Holy crap!" Anyways, so what has been most surprising about running a 40k business for you? Like, how has this been different than what you expected it to be like?
Well, it's transformed so much over the years because when it started, it was just me writing blog posts and writing army lists and doing personal coaching for people. And now it's me managing a YouTube channel and doing content creation and all of that. And doing commentary instead of competing in tournaments. I was using my 40k clout as a competitor, was successful at the time to really get my marketing going. I was. Now, I don't know, I haven't played in a tournament in like 6 months, but I've been commentating and ambassadoring and all that stuff. So it's been really transformative in that regard. I didn't expect to find myself here. And running a business is a whole new set of challenges and skills, which I'm learning to do on the fly, kind of.
Well,
Who
you
knew
were
that-
good at all of them immediately, right? Like, there's been no mistakes. Just
Yeah, none whatsoever.
everything's just been
Any.
perfect. Because that's how we learn, is we just succeed at everything, right? That's what you
Well, and
teach
that's
at
how
Art of
all
War.
business ventures go. Like
Exactly.
everything just goes perfectly.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you failed at business. Clearly.
Well, like most people just think I came out of the gate like some 12-year-old prodigy who just like won all the 40k tournaments, and that's not true. I like lost every game at North. This business, it's bumpy. It's a bumpy road.
John Lennon has that story too. He's not on. He can't be on join us tonight, but he also has the "I was 16 at tournaments and grown-ups were beating me." He also has that story.
I was that grown up just to.
Proud of you, Chuck.
You wrecked a pretty small child at one of the tournaments we went to in the past few years, Chuck.
That's what you
remember.
want on the internet.
I think it was like round 3 of LVO,
Yeah.
and he'd won the other 2 games, and I Death starred him like end of round 1. He was gone, and there were tears on the way back to report the score.
Which was really
Didn't
hard
know
for
about
Chuck
taking
because
my
he
foot
didn't
off
want to
the
show
gas.
how excited he was by making the child cry, and there was.
So what's fun about that is Chuck didn't know how to take his foot off the gas. Then years later, he would play me in a practice game, supposedly on his same team, and I would bring 2 Stormlords against his Chaos Army, and I would not know how to take my foot off the gas.
The cycle of life continues.
Yeah.
I don't know, Orc, Death Star, Stormlords, none of this sounds relevant, guys. So, getting
It's
back
relevant to me.
to LVO. So, Nick, how much are you actually playing 40k now?
Well, I have just played my first game on Tuesday. That was the first game I played in about 3 weeks, which is really, really, that might be the first time in my life I've gone 3 weeks without playing 40k, so that's new. I'm sure that's not true, but I don't know that that's not true.
But you're not burned out on it, right? You're just busy?
Well, it's more, yeah, I guess that's a way to put it. I wouldn't say I'm burned out. I'm actually very eager to play in a tournament because I can't these days. Because I'm commentating all the big ones. I could go to like an RTT or a small local GT and play one. I've just been busy growing the channel. And honestly, I find that very rewarding, focusing my time there.
Well, that's not surprising, right? You're building a thing, and
Yeah.
building things is fun.
Right.
So, if you were going to LVO and
Yeah.
to play, you are going to LVO, but if you were going to LVO to play, what would you play?
So that's a great question. Now, Jack and John in the Art of War trap house that we have here have concocted a really, really cool Custodes army, which we're going to be previewing. Actually, we did preview it off in the Worm. When lists go live, you'll be able to see that, or if you're a war member. So I could have jumped on that train, but I kind of have a redemption story that I need to fulfill between me and YOLO White Scars. So I kind of want to YOLO White Scars again and redeem myself if I had to play, because I feel like that's very poetic.
That seems much harder now than it was then, though, and it didn't go well then.
Well, we gotta believe.
Where do White Scars sit right now, Nick, in the meta? I don't even
think
know.
they have hard counters to some good armies, so that's a rough place to find yourself. But that said, I think they are a very good army against most of the field. I would say they're solidly still in A tier. They're just going to struggle to punch up versus the strongest armies.
That's fair enough. What are you thinking is the best? What is the S tier right now in Nick's mind?
Oh, I think mids and forces, however you want to call that conglomeration of stuff, is really, really up there.
Yep.
This new Custodes that John and Jack have cooked up with, I
is dumb.
Kicked my butt many, many times. That's yeah, I don't know. After those two, I feel like those two are just like a cut above the rest.
And now there's a gap, right?
Yeah.
All right. Well, in a minute, we're going to have Nick go through our first lightning round of the day.
I'm excited for this.
For those that have not listened to the show much, we like to do the lightning round, which is the listeners give us questions. We don't read them. In this particular situation, I haven't seen them either, which is unusual. They are separated by our 5 guests, and each guest is going to get their own lightning round questions. And there is one question that I've been asked to ask every guest, and I think Nick's not going to have any idea what I'm talking about, so I'm excited to start with him on the question everyone's going to get asked. But before we do that, Chuck, mention any questions for Mr. Nick before we get into lightning round?
You asked the one I was going to ask. Is like, what would you play if you're going? I'm out.
Out? That's all you had for me, Chuck? Come on.
That's all I had.
So my question is, what do you think is the dark horse in like that if it gets the right path, it dodges the one hard matchup that it has? Is there any faction or list out there lurking that can actually go the distance that people don't seem to be accounting for?
That is a good question. I think orcs. I don't know if people are or are not counting for orcs to win LVO, but I think orcs could actually sneak in and just that if they get the right run. I also think. No, I lost my train of thought. Never mind.
No worries.
Fair enough. Okay, so here's how the lightning round works, Nick. The idea here is that you answer quickly. That's the idea.
Yeah.
So you're going to answer.
Happen,
and it doesn't happen, no. But you're not supposed to go on for 10 minutes about any of these questions. Some of them are fairly serious, so we'll see how quickly you go. Some of them are silly. Some of them are serious. We'll start with. If you had to pick one rule to revise in 9th edition to improve 40k, what would it be? You get to rewrite a rule.
Rewrite a rule. I would rewrite Feel No Pain. I feel like everyone just has it now. Or damage reduction. It's just like this isn't a great rule to pick, but like they're too widespread and everywhere. Everything's just so much tougher than it needs to be. What happened to the simplicity of you have an armor save and a wounds characteristic? That's like how the game works. I think a lot of the durability and the damage is out of control these days, and we got to turn that back in.
Yeah, everything's got -1 damage. It's not just the Feel No Pain. Like everything's got.
Well, it's everything that's viable.
Right. Yeah, that's a good point. All right.
That's the thing, right? Like it's there are lots of units that don't have these rules. We feel like they're omnipresent because that's what's viable right now. That's what's working. I think that the -1 damage is a great answer. My modification would be, it doesn't work on 2 damage weapons. It only works on damage 3 and above.
Oh,
yeah, that's a good one.
I actually like that. Yeah,
because 2 damage weapons have no place in the game right now.
Yeah, they used to be like the best profile, and now they're like useless.
Yep, and they're super common.
Nick, do you like or not like? Let's say this question, not yes or no. How do you feel about the anti-souping rules that have been announced?
I don't have a strong opinion of them, honestly. I feel like the game has already been pushed really heavily towards not soup. You can legally do it, but who actually soups these days? And then this is just Mitch does, of course. This is really just solidifying that don't do that. Play with your armies the way GW of like 10 years ago intended. So I don't. Sure, why not? If this was a radical change like it would have been in 7th or the early part of 8th edition, maybe I'd have a different opinion. But we're basically already there.
Okay, well, one of our listeners would like to know why your beard is so weak.
My beard, I don't think it's weak. That's offensive, but it's not at its strongest. No, I trimmed it. Definitely will give you that.
How is that a
Impressive, really.
weak beard?
I actually quite like Nick's beard, but I think what happened is
enjoyed it.
I was using an example of how I wanted the questions formatted, and I think my question is, why is your beard so great? And so I suspect somebody took that and had to make it negative.
Oh, the internet taking something
Bearded
to
Nick
just
is much better than
automatically-
not bearded Nick. That's my take.
Everyone always says that, except my parents. They are very firm, no beard for me, man.
Oh, well, that's because you're still probably their baby. You're the only kid.
Yeah,
so.
yeah. That you get to look more like their kid then. Or
Yeah.
like how like yeah, that makes perfect
Being
sense.
an only kid is weird, so I don't know. Okay. What do you think the next big step that competitive 40K needs to make is?
I think 40K in a place is getting more publicity by the mainstream media than it ever has before, and you can cite things like I was featured in a New York Times article next to like Henry Cavill and Ed Sheeran, Henry Cavill and Tom Holland, Superman and Spider-Man. They went on and did that interview on the Graham Norton show, and stuff like that is really getting 40K popularized, and like nerd culture is already being more acceptable with all the Marvel and Disney things going on, and people just like are popular. So I think 40K with their TV shows and potentially movies and all this stuff they're doing to make it more widespread and make it more than just a game or a circuit or anything like that will help transform Warhammer as a cultural shift, and then everything will just kind of explode from there because know about it will increase so much that the number of people who compete or are interested in competitive 40K will increase so much, and therefore money follows that, and then industry follows that, and then bada boom, bada bang, we're here.
Good. I like that. Somebody asked why you picked Radagast as your wizard persona, and I don't know enough to know. Okay, great. Moving on. Whose hair?
No, I picked
whose
that.
hair clogs the shower the most?
Well, we have 3 different showers, so that's not too big of an issue.
How many men are using these 3 different showers? Is it a 1-to-1 situation?
It's a 1 man per shower ratio.
Okay, well then that's not a relevant question then.
I will say John takes the longest showers by like miles. I don't know how or why, but like hour-long showers for this dude. Don't know what goes on in there.
But you seem like the multiple shower per day sort of person, Nick.
I shower at inconvenient times for other people, which is really just when it's convenient for me. I know, but I don't understand. I do understand. Unfortunate reality to our Streamhouse situation is that the entire streaming setup is in the master bedroom of this house we all rent out. Master bedroom is the largest private room, and attached to the master bedroom is the master bathroom, which would be criminal not to use. That thing is mine, and that means if there's a stream going on or a podcast or any of the hundreds of things we record every day, I shouldn't be showering because I hear the noise and all that in the background. So I have to be very, very deliberate about what times I can and can't shower and structure my entire day around this. And then John gets mad because I showered half an hour before stream.
Man, guys, I don't know about the rest of you, but I have no interest in living in this trap house. You guys have fun.
So, hard agree. Quick note for the last question because we moved on really quickly. Radagast is Radagast the Brown. So he's Radagast the Brown, the wizard. So brown magic, I think is what.
I get
well,
it.
that
This guy
actually
copied me. This Radagast person. That's what I say.
that segues me into this much more serious question, which is: you've been playing competitive 40K since you were a teen. How much racism do you think you've experienced?
In the 40K scene, next to none. It's actually really, really racially, for being especially a white male dominated culture. I would say I've not experienced much racism at all. Most of the racism I've experienced has been through traveling to different parts of the world for the event. Like when I go to Serbia, or when I go to some other Eastern European countries, or if I go to certain parts of the South in America, I could experience more racism in certain parts than others. But that's not Warhammer. That's like geography and world work. So it's actually a really positive culture. I don't want to say it's surprising or shocking.
It's not surprising to me to hear you say that now, but 10 years ago, I'm a little bit more surprised. Because you've been competing for like 10 years.
It could have been like I was like 15 years old, 16 years. I guess I was 18 10 years ago, but I don't know. People weren't so racist towards the kid, maybe. Where I
Yeah, that could be.
noticed it as a kid. As an adult now, in recent history, I would say there's not been. I wouldn't say racism has been a big factor whatsoever in my Warhammer career.
This is great. Somebody wants to know if Perry wears shoes in the shower because we know he doesn't wear them anywhere else.
Oh man, I don't think he owns shoes. Actually, my dog ate his only pair of flip flops. I'm pretty sure, like that happened, and I think he just doesn't have shoes now.
When you guys were at one of the big tournaments, I don't remember which one it was.
How has he not died from a lack of service? Then?
You guys took a picture up with the podium, and he wasn't wearing shoes, and you're like in the convention hall at the hotel, and I actually died like 15%, Nick. Like as a dad, the idea that he was in a convention, not like in his hotel room, like he's in the convention center without shoes on, and I literally just was, oh God, it hurts so much.
I don't tell you.
Why do you feel comfortable being barefooted in a hotel room?
Well,
Mark
I'm not going to wear shoes
different.
in the hotel room.
He's bred different. I'm not entirely sure he's 100% human. He's definitely part orc. Like he's just built different.
I just assumed being from
different.
the Pacific Northwest, he was a Sasquatch of some sort. So.
It could be. Let's see if we have any questions we didn't ask Nick. People ask me about this all the time, Nick. Is there any hope of a slice of life content from the Trap House?
I really want to do this. I think that'd be a really cool piece because
People ask
this
for
is
it.
not normal.
No.
This is weird stuff going on in here.
You know, the something you should look at as like a thing that's interesting is the Penny Arcade guys. You know, that do PAX.
Yeah.
They did a reality show about them making comics and running PAX that was very cool. Like
It was
20
really
years
good.
ago.
Yeah. It was super interesting.
Watching an episode of that actually could give you some good ideas.
That actually could. Is that like on YouTube or something?
I'm sure that everybody is now finding it and sending the link to you. So
Yeah.
I'll go with that.
yeah. Hey guys, if you know where that link is, send it to Nick. Let's see how many messages you get. All right.
Colin.
You're
A
welcome.
great new metric for our reach.
Yeah, exactly.
5. Oh.
I have a question for Nick.
Okay.
So I have obviously this whole 100th episode is kind of, you know, a bit of a retrospective. Like there's this body of work like with the podcast about following the competitive community, which you have obviously been at the center of the entire time we've had the podcast at some level, right? And I feel like, you know, all of us have changed and grown as people and players. And there's been a lot of great moments. Is there a specific moment or like period of change or growth or like evolution as a 40K player, coach, whichever, like wherever you want to go with that? But is there a specific moment that you look back at and you're like, man, that was really like a turning point or something special or where something clicked?
There's a few. I think if there's one moment that always sticks out to me, it's kind of the moment where I won ITC and over Tony Grippando in the fashion that I did.
Sure.
Aided by that. And then that really gave me, one, the credentials, two, the confidence, and especially with where I was with my life at the time. Start the entire Brown Magic. Get me on this career path that led me to where I am here. So that's like a moment. But then there's so many smaller, but I don't want to classify them as smaller because they're so significant moments. Like Charity Hammer in its third year this year, raising like $40,000 for children. That is, it turned from literally nothing. Colin just made that out of nothing. It was, yeah, and then it turned into a camera in a garage with Nick. Do you want to fly to Seattle? Use my points. And like 3 years down the road, it turned into this. And to be a catalyst for that is awesome. And like other moments, like now we're doing professional commentary for Games Workshop. If you want to think about it like that, like as like a little kid, I would like read articles in the White Dwarf about this guy who did a 40K battle report for Games Workshop. I'd be like, that's so cool. Now I just do that. And
Yeah.
like literally living little Nick's
For
dream.
an audience.
That's awesome.
Like it's crazy cool. Yeah, no,
Yeah.
I agree.
You know, Nick, I've actually told the story on a bunch of podcasts. I think I just told it on Game Changers that Charity Hammer exists because I had the idea while we were playing in your parents' basement in New Jersey. Like,
Yeah, really.
so I was out there and for work, and we decided we'd do a stream game, and I wasn't streaming really at all, hardly at that point.
Right. Right.
But a little bit. I was streaming a
into
little bit, and you were streaming a little bit, but we were both. Neither of us really knew what it needed to look like, and I came out, and because of who I am and who you are, we just talked 40K the whole podcast, the whole stream, and people adored it, and we were both like, well, we need to do more of this, and that was where Charity Hammer came from.
Wow, that's awesome.
So I think that was the Tyranid versus Necrons game, by the way.
I don't remember, but I remember that you came over and we played this game.
I went there twice. I've been to your parents' house twice. I'm fancy.
Oh.
The
There's a
fancy.
short list of people who can say that.
Yeah.
You only knew about one of them. Is the
I actually,
Clearly, I
Well,
remember one of them.
You know,
I
his mom's
actually
his mom's a
remember-
classy lady.
Colin coming back from that trip with the idea and like things going from there and like the enthusiasm like that Colin had, and it was a really cool thing to see. Colin's obviously like very social person and a great organizer, but he's a great social organizer, which is a specific thing, right? Like that's a like and I think it's funny. We've been doing this podcast for so long, and people think that like Colin's the main host or whatever it is, and it's like, no, Colin's just better at it. Like, so Colin does it. Like why would we do it when Colin is better at it? Like that.
I'll be very clear. I wouldn't do it.
Yeah,
I can't wrap my head around the stuff he comes up with every time we do this.
yeah. I'm great for specific ideas and then getting like specific faction focuses and like a lot of things, but like that's Colin's talent. So like, why not let him thrive in that?
You gotta stay in your lanes and stick to your strengths.
Well,
Siegs does all the technology at Art of War. I talk to people.
Exactly.
Yeah, well,
No,
and a good point of it is every time we do Charity Hammer, I get stressed at the last minute because I'm actually not the kind of person that organizes by spreadsheet well. Like the project management aspect of organizing.
Yeah, that part isn't. Yeah, we
That's
have other
not-
people now.
Yeah, that's not what I'm good at. I'm good at
No, but it's
I'm going to
getting the
talk to all
people
these people, and it's
commit.
we're going to get everybody doing stuff.
Exactly. No, and that's the thing is it's about letting people like I feel like a lot of what we're all like kind of what we're all commenting on in our journey as growing as people and players is understanding ourselves better and letting ourselves excel where we excel and being okay with the areas we don't, right? Like, and that is a fundamental part of defining who you are and then defining who you want to be. You have to know what your limitations are if you want to change them or if you want to expand them or if you want to just be like, oh wow, I'm really not good at that, I should let someone else handle that because that is not me. And
I'm very good at that.
It's been really cool, Nick, to see your journey as a business person, as a coach, as a ambassador for the game. Like you now occupy so many different facets of what represents our hobby, and just have seen your growth, as a person and as a business person has been really cool to like to be able to have kind of a front seat to that.
That's really touching. Thanks, Mitch. Appreciate that.
So we have two final things for Nick, really super quick, because we got our next guest coming in 3 minutes. The first one is the listeners want to know if you know where my missing shelf is.
Missing shelf.
See, he doesn't
It
know
might be
anything about
in the
this.
Harry Potter closet from our old apartment where I slept a couple nights. That sucked.
Next up, we have a punchy dark elf. We've got Anthony Vanilla up next. Do you have a lightning round question we should ask him? Anything can be anything. Doesn't have to be 40K related.
Yeah. Ask him why is he too scared to come to Florida and get his ass kicked.
Okay.
There's no good 40K players in Florida. I heard that.
That's
on the
true.
internet.
Yeah,
That was on a
that-
podcast.
yeah.
Oh my!
Only
keyboard.
old people who are retired like me.
Right. Well, Nick, thank you so much, and thank you for your friendship and your support. And we will see you sometime this summer. I'm going to work with your John on the Charity Hammer dates, so you just have to show up.
Excellent.
I'm going to have
Sounds
him
good, Colin.
schedule
Thanks
it
so much
for you.
for having me. Congratulations on 100 episodes.
Yeah, thanks a lot, Nick. Bye
Thanks,
now.
man. Appreciate it.
See you, dude.
Bye.
Get out of here.
All right, so I'm just going to double check the schedule and make sure it actually is Anthony who's next. It is.
Hey.
I don't have Anthony on Skype, so Yeah, let me. One of you guys talk about something, and I'll be right back.
So Mitch,
Yeah,
we've seen faction change, sub-faction change, right?
sure. Yep,
My initial response obviously is, oh my god, orcs. But
I agree.
one of our teammates brought up Grey Knights as well.
Yep.
What do you think? Like, what do you think the impact there is for Grey Knights?
Specifically for Grey Knights. So you're just deleting the possibility of the 5 Dread Knight build, which is a huge impact to the meta as a whole. That build does not exist anymore. It is not an option. And so the fact that you never have to see 5 Dread Knights again changes what you have to plan for, fundamentally. It also means that now you're having to commit to different characters to cast your powers. They don't have the same movement profiles. You're not able to necessarily sync everything up the way you could, and you've lost that shooting platform and durability. We'll see what their other points changes are. Man, I'm really hoping for some drops for Terminators, for them,
Sure.
for just their troop Terminator. That could be a great unit that kind of fills in that points gap, at around 300 points, as opposed to, the normal 230-ish
So-
you're spending on a Grandmaster.
I mean, based on what you said there, essentially the faction is new, right? Like the pieces exist, but it won't. The army that we expect out of Grey Knights will not look the same.
Yeah, it functionally changes. Well, and you have to also understand, now you can only commit to 1 Grey Knight's gimmick, whereas before you could bring 3. And that's a real big difference. You don't have, like, if you want CP generation, then you're not as good in combat. If you want +1 to hit and wound and shooting, then you're not as good in combat. If you want to be good in combat, then you've given up these other things. Like, there's a lot of different trades and changes there. You're gonna see interceptors are still going to be great, even if they go up in points. They're still, like, as long as it's not nuclear, their role is what's also going to fill that Dread Knight role, because they have the same kind of mobility, similar damage output in combat, not enough in shooting, but that's more or less where that goes. I think that one of the other factions that gets hit tremendously by this is Guard. The only way Guard was really viable before was bringing multiple different regiments so that you had enough tricks in your bag to have.
But a lot of that is trying to make up for the fact that you don't have a codex yet.
Yeah, no, for sure.
For sure.
It's gonna be frustrating. Necrons are less effective than orcs because most Necron builds were going mono for the double obsec, and
you lose your protocols if you spice it.
Okay, yeah.
So like they weren't doing it. It is a little interesting. They have a dynasty trait that allows you to put guys in and mix. I don't know which one of those will take precedent. But the Silent King has a dynasty, but he'll work with any of them. I hope that gets preserved.
I think that probably will, because that's clear. Like it's a clearly intent on a specific character to make him playable for the faction. So it would be disappointing if that went away. I think orcs are hit hard. I think it's any codex that doesn't have access to allies that are different keyword. It's going to make. It's going to give certain chaos players fits who love to, like, just soup in a bunch of different things for all the tech they can.
It's actually, I'm going to say it. I don't think it hits chaos that hard right now.
Okay.
Because you can soup all the different codexes. What you can't soup anymore is different chaos space marine. You can't have world eaters and word bearers in the same army. But because warp time can't be used cross subfaction, that had already effectively occurred.
Okay, fair enough.
There's no reason to bring them.
There was enough delineation there. I got you.
So, like, I think it's kind of a non-starter there, because your Thousand Suns are different than your Death Guard, which are different from your Chaos Space, which are different from your Demons. So we can still sort of build that hodgepodgey army. No problem.
Yeah. So I'm trying to think of what other factions would get hit really hard with this. It's mainly the Mono Codex Xenos. We don't know how this is going to affect Eldar specifically yet.
Oh, yeah.
It hurts Drukhari, right? Because you can't have two of any of the types, right? You can't have.
Yeah, each patrol has to be a different one of the 3.
Yeah. Right. So literally, Thick City requires having both.
Yep. No. And that was
That's a really good call out. That's a huge change.
Yeah, it's an unintentional nerf there. But it's great in the sense of removing that from play. I think it's good for the design space of the game. It allows them to be more liberal with individual sub-factions to give each of them more powerful flavor without worrying about a combination of 2 of those all of a sudden breaking the game.
Well, the less things that can work together, the easier it is to make a balance.
Yeah, it's more compartmentalization, so you have more incremental control, and I think that's great. So as someone who loves to soup things, and as someone who loves to play guard, and all of those different things, I don't like it. Like fundamentally, I don't like it. Looking at it as more of a judge and just like for balance and trying to create a game that you can tweak and tune and create the right level of churn in the meta, I totally understand, and I think it's probably the way to go, or at least to try out. If it turns out that it nerfs the lower powered codexes too much, then they have a choice to make. They have to either go, okay, we have to really buff those lower powered codexes to make them, substantially better so that they are able to interact at the level they need to, or they have to say, okay, this just wasn't the right path, and we're going to revert and let that kind of. Well, what I think could happen is the people who so this creates more compartmentalization, which is great, but it also can create more haves and have-nots, in the sense of like the die-hard, I only play this one faction players. Like for that specific group of people, this is a very frustrating thing, because if you only play sisters and you want to play sisters, like being able to have two different sub-factions is really useful. You can double or triple your toolbox.
Yep.
Like and that fundamentally makes them better, but it again that creates more to balance. So it's going to be, does the advantage of being able to more incrementally balance this way outweigh the discomfort that is caused for the player base that is monofaction? Like
I think that discomfort is temporary, so I think it will.
I agree with you, but it basically comes down to whether or not they fall prey to that outcry.
Yeah, I think Sisters is really interesting. That's I learned a lot about it. With Sisters, I started out like I think most people do, where you have a patrol and a spearhead, and they're two different groups. And over time, I moved to just being Bloody Rose all the way through, because having your captains work on everyone, having everybody able to use your rhinos, that kind of stuff in the end turned out to actually be more valuable to me than to have the other faction specific benefits. Sure. So in a lot of ways, I think of myself as a player who would prefer to have the same sub faction throughout my whole army. And now that the playing field is leveled that way, I feel more comfortable doing it. But we'll see how
and that's
when I get around to actually doing it.
Like perspective, and I'm excited to see what this creates. It's going to be an entirely new meta. It's an entirely different way of 40K ever being played, than the entire time I've been playing. I'm sure it's probably slightly different for you, Chuck, and Colin, because you guys have played longer than I have. But for me, like from starting in I'm not counting like back early days when I played as a kid, because I don't really even remember that, but like from 7th onward, it's been a narrowing of choice continually. Over time, rule of 3, sub-faction restrictions now, detachments changing, there's been a lot of limitations.
Like I went from percentages you could spend, and 25% was allowed to be spent on allies, to what we call a battalion now, as being like your whole army had to be in a battalion every time, no matter what.
Yep.
So I remember, I think we're back to the place where most of the time what you're going to be seeing is a battalion. Some of the time you're going to be seeing some other weird things.
Yeah, you'll see me and my 2 spearheads in a patrol being like, I don't need CP. What are you talking about?
Leave me alone. Yeah, but I think we'll see less of that. I also was just thinking about communication-wise, it'll be a little clearer. If I say I'm playing Evil Sun's orcs, you're like one more level drilled down on what my army's about.
Mm-hmm. True.
Right now, I would have to tell you I'm playing orcs, because I'd have Evil Suns in there, I'd have some Goths, and I'd be specing all over the place. So communication will get just slightly better in a way that'll be interesting.
As someone who was playing Custodes, Grey Knights, and Guard, and I had to explain what all of the special rules and all of my little tricks were, because I wasn't there to gotcha anyone and I wanted to have good games, I totally relate to that. Like clearer stuff. I think fundamentally where the game is going is towards more accessibility. And whenever we're going towards more accessibility, they're going to want to increase granularity and decrease complexity, right? Like any way they can have more levers to balance the game and limit the number of levers that the players have to break the game. They're going to want to. That's sort of their decision matrix for how they're doing stuff. I think is to try and make sure that it's more and more accessible. And to create tactical depth in other ways, and hopefully we see that in mission design and army design over time, and they integrate that in other ways.
Okay,
having
I'm going to do my job now and interrupt.
Okay.
Okay.
Hi. You told us to vamp.
Well, no, and you did great. But Anthony's
Ramble
here.
on 40K. Got it.
Yeah. Anthony's here. Do you hear us, Anthony?
It's a gear.
I can. Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
And
So everybody, we have the one and only, the best flavor ever. Anthony Vanilla is here with us, and evidently his video is not going to come through well. Wow, look at him stretched. That's great.
Ooh. Yeah, does not look good.
No, it looks amazing, Anthony. We're gonna go
This
with
is what happens when you get the vanilla extract instead of the vanilla bean.
Yeah, you get just a...
It's the wrong kind of vanilla. I understand now. That was great, Mitch. That was great. Anthony is our next guest. Anthony has had just an incredible competitive season. Where are you at in the ITC right now, Anthony?
I am currently rank 7.
Ooh, wow.
Hell yeah.
Only
Call
Drukhari?
that striking distance.
Yes, that is with pretty much exclusive. That is, I only have scores that count as Drukhari now. I have some random Blood Angel scores in there, but those are from earlier in the season and are not counting.
Because they're Blood Angels.
We did our best. We got, second at some RTTs.
Woo.
Oh my God, don't bully my boys.
Maybe
They did that to themselves.
Maybe if they painted their armor in a color that was less easy to see on the battlefield, they might do better. I'm just saying that they seem to be
Like
very
black?
weak against bullets, Anthony.
Yeah, they do have a bad bullets matchup. They don't like getting shot.
They have a rule for that. If you paint all their armor black, they do actually do a lot better.
If you paint all their armor black, and then you have to also grind off the nipples. It's
Yeah.
Oh, is that what it is?
two-step
It's a
process,
tough,
yeah.
it's a tough
Two-step
balance
process.
there.
I,
Yeah.
in general, don't grind off nipples. That's just the rule I have. I've always had that rule.
Oh, I think you should try it.
Okay. Well, if you have magnets, a lot of people just don't install the nipples, which I think is also...
That's true.
Okay, so Anthony's here to talk to us about Drukhari, and then we're going to talk about Custodes. So we're going to start with Drukhari. And first of all, are you taking Drukhari to LVO?
I am. I will be taking the beloved Thick City to LVO. That is going to be my game plan.
All right, so for
real
the
quick,
people that are going...
Quick question: what are you ranked for Dark Eldar right now? Then,
Oh,
if you're
I am ranked 3 for just Drukhari specifically because Sean's a big jerk and he just passed me by like 2 points or a point or something.
Okay, I just that matters for the stakes at LVO. So I was
is it close enough though that it's basically whoever finishes higher at LVO?
Well, our current Drukhari King is not taking them to LVO from according to the signups. So if that is true, and Mr. Brad Chester does not play Drukhari at LVO.
Oh, he's not. I can speak to that.
Yeah, so it'll be between me and Sean and maybe like James Kelling for first place for Drukhari this year.
Okay, but if it's Nathan, he'll probably play Soup with Craft World, won't he?
His listing right now is just Drukhari. I don't know how much that will or will not change.
I don't have insider information with Sean, so I can't help you with that.
Normally I do, but not this time.
Okay, so it could be that you're the only one actually trying for it.
That would be awesome.
Yeah, because you're okay with being handed it and not feeling bad. That's what you're saying.
Yeah, no, that's fine. We had to earn it all season. It was rough.
Yeah, no.
Yeah.
No, let's be clear. I only beat Brandon Grant for Best Imperial Guard because he didn't take them to LVO.
Yeah, you take what you can get.
Anthony spent the entire season torturing people just nonstop. Just can't stop torturing. Have to keep torturing. So, okay. So, Archon Punchy, what are the Drukhari list people need to know about for LVO? Let's start with Thick City. What is Thick City?
So Thick City is the big one. The name itself is actually my brainchild. It was a joke list kind of that I had made before the points had even changed, and then it just worked out that they got like a bunch of like 80 or so free points from some changes that were made, and that allowed us to shuffle things around. And in the variant that I play, let me flesh out a Blackheart detachment on top of all the Coven goodies that go in it. So,
tell people roughly. Don't do the whole list, but just like how many Chronos, how many Talos, what detachments are they in? Just do that.
Yep. So there's two setups. One is where you split Dark Techno and Artist. The other one is where you go all Artists of Flesh. Artists of Flesh obviously is the -1 damage detachment. So in the build where I'm all Artists, I have 10 Grotesques, 6 Talos, and 4 Chronos. When you're taking Dark Technomancers, in the way that I have it set up, it's 6 Talos, 6 Chronos, and then 5 Grotesques. And then there's some other points that move around, but that's basically the gist of like your Coven-based threats.
Okay. So what's that list really going to be great against?
It honestly, depending on the mission, but in general, it matches up really well into the field. In a display of kind of funny irony, it really does well against other -1 damage lists. So things like, in my experience anyway, things like the Crusher Stampedes or like heavy Dreadnought lists, because so much of Thick City is either poison damage or multiple damage or mortals or Drazar, that it kind of gets over that -1 damage hump really well most of the time.
Okay.
So it creates these like...
What's it do, Anthony? Does it deploy on the line and just come at you and it's just too durable?
You can do that, but you will lose a bunch of games if you do that.
Okay.
So whereas the old Drukhari list tended to hit people in waves and kind of out-efficient trade them and overwhelm them, the new like Thick City tends to play more like a constant pressure. I describe it as like closing the noose, honestly, is usually how I describe finishing games with them. Because you're spending this time like herding your opponent into an area, hurting them, and then it kind of just ends because they can't kill you fast enough relative to the rate at which you remove them.
Okay.
If that makes sense.
That sounds incredibly Dark Eldar to me.
Yeah, it fits the fluff like bang on. They did a great job with that.
One of the questions is how do you move that list and not get boxed in?
How do I not get boxed in, or how do you move against Thick City and not get boxed in?
How does he move that list and not get boxed in? He's asking you how you don't get boxed in. I think a bunch of your list flies, but I'm not sure if that's what he means.
Yeah, a lot of the list does fly. There's notably in all the variants that I build, I have a Raider that either has Hamoxites, Drazn, and Archon, or a Court Drazn and Archon in it. And they tend to go on special secret ninja missions into different parts of the board to clear out things that the rest of the list is either not fast enough or not appropriately equipped to get to. But as a general rule of thumb, boxing in Thick City, so a lot of like heavier lists, you can, we all know the tricks. You can slow them down with move blocking and stuff like that. But there's a stratagem for Drukhari called Pain Siphon, where if you kill something near a Chronos unit, you get to jump your power from Pain to turn 5. So if someone wants to feed me a bunch of garbage early, my army is going to be a lot more powerful than it should be a lot sooner, if that makes sense. So you get that closed noose effect a lot earlier. My current record is that I was able to get like 8 units into Power from Pain by bottom of turn 2. And that is a lot.
Yeah, that's gross. Nobody likes that.
Yeah, you shouldn't be able to do that. That's
so what are the so this is what you're taking. So what are the matchups that you're most worried about?
So the things, the new kids on the block, honestly, are the things that have me most, have my head on a swivel. Just because, we're doing our best to get practice games in Vindicta. We're trying to crowdsource and hive mind our way to get practice against Custodes and GSC. But they represent unique challenges that other parts of the meta don't. GSC's ability to throw really high damage potential melee units into you and then not care at all if they die because they don't cost very much.
Right.
And the
or they leave.
Matchup. Yeah, or they just disappear.
Yeah.
Usually they won't clean wipe me. The thing with the GSC is that they'll charge me and hit me super hard. And then I'll have a Talos left. And then maybe that Talos puts a dent in that unit, but they're not dead. Now they're in the way. That sort of stuff is really disruptive to the Thick City plan of this slow, hurting of the opponent. GSC is just nah, I'm not even really here. And then on the other side of the coin, Custode's ability to convert all their attacks into saves, basically, for you. Like, they have, like, 12 attacks, and then it's like, oops, take 12 saves. Like, that is, that wears on you. Even though Custode's melee damage is like a lot of its damage too, their range damage is not. There's a lot of Dark Lances attached to those bikes. And their Dreadnoughts and Trajan and stuff like that really put the beats on you. So you got to be real careful about how you're using your resources. Both of those matchups, much more so the Custodes, a well-played Drazar Archon combo is going to be like the key to victory in that one.
That makes sense. Okay.
Yeah, I really like that tool of having something quick. Like you're discussing an army that moves very methodically. Having that tool that's like, this thing shoots over here and does a crap ton of damage means you can solve smaller problems or things that I would like try to spread you out with.
Yeah.
You have a pretty good solution.
Yeah, exactly. The Raider having access to Aether Cells to go 22, because it's Blackheart, it can then charge. It really gets in like very inconvenient positions, and handling the Raider often means exposing yourself to the Talos. And honestly, the Raider itself and all the units inside are all just a blade of wounds for the true king himself, Drazar, who usually carries me to victory.
Does that Raider have extra punchy upgrade?
No, I would love nothing more, Colin, than to give that thing chain snares.
Because you know how much I like to charge with my Raiders.
Oh god, I love chain snares so much. I've like nearly like there have been games that I've won because I had chain snares, but that was the old list. The new list doesn't have points.
So it's okay. So we just in the interest of time, do we need to talk about the previous traditional Drukhari list, or do you think it's just not relevant?
I think if you're Sean Maiden, it's relevant. I think for a lot of other people, you're just kind of playing uphill.
Okay.
There's only one person allowed to play this list now.
Can you summarize? Can you summarize semi succinctly? Well, that's hard for me to say. Can you quickly summarize why that list isn't the cat's meow anymore?
Yeah, it lost like 170 points or so,
or 260 if your name's Colin.
Yeah. If you had a lot of witches, it was just right in the private parts.
Yeah.
So yeah, the thing, the list was built off the fact that you were a highly efficient trade list, and once you lose the highly efficient part of that, you're just out there struggling.
Just a trade list.
Well, Chuck always used to say that the real problem is that when we get down to the end of a close game, and this is Chuck talking, all of my stuff is dead, Colin still has a unit and Drazar left. So
right.
If you can't afford a unit and Drazar, that means you have nothing left.
Yeah, and the unit's often in a Raider, so it's definitely going to do the thing it's going to do.
So, a question we're seeing in the chat is they're wanting to ask about the Thin City, some are saying
Why are you jumping
City?
ahead? Why are you jumping ahead, Mitch? That's the third Drukhari list to talk about. Okay.
Oh, fine.
Well, it's very significant because Manny's taking it.
Yeah, exactly. That's why it's Skinny City.
Now, I personally think this list is dumb, but maybe I'm wrong. So tell us about there are two names they have here. Thin City, I like that, but I also like Skinny City. I think is good too.
Yeah, I'll take the variations. What's the least aggressive hot take I can give here? I don't think that list is good. I think that list has really fundamental weaknesses.
It's just for everybody's benefit. It's a court, 4 characters, and the entire rest of the list is racks. So it's basically, I don't know how many units of 17 racks it is, but it's a lot. And then it has a court and characters, and it basically to the last automatically. And
it's just Plague Bear spam.
Yeah, it's just gonna run at you and hold the board and beat you on the mission. That's what it's gonna do.
So racks are fairly tanky. They're not like. That list is super vulnerable to someone just being like, yeah, I have 40 Skitarii Rangers, your whole army's dead.
I brought 60 Devil Gaunt's.
Yeah, or even that. Or even just 30, honestly. Like, they're just...
Because what's he going to do about them? If 30 Termagants with something in front of them is shooting at that army, what the heck does Drukhari do?
Nothing. You 1,000-yard stare while your opponent removes all your models.
Yeah.
Your back hurts from picking your models back up. That's
and the thing is there are a lot of armies that can do this, right? Like it's not just one. AdMech can do it like 4 different ways.
Yeah.
Guard can do it depending on the build, especially if you're doing Taurox Prime spam. They're like, hey, this is fine.
No one's gonna have Taurox Prime spam. Come on, Mitch.
But
Oh,
LVO,
you don't
they
know. You
could.
don't know guard players.
Yeah.
You don't know the guard
I
players.
will bet you something right now that Manny does not play against Torix guard spam.
Oh no! I'm not talking about Manny. I'm not talking
Okay.
about Manny.
I don't
Manny
think this
I'm
list
talking about-
exists outside of Manny.
Manny could show up and play a spiteful guard player in round 1, and that guy just ruins his event. That could happen.
Man, that would make me so, I would laugh so hard.
They'll
Because
look
I
down
think
the
this
street.
is because when people what Manny has done is an idea that's interesting. Like it is an interesting idea to try to attack the meta in a really specific way. And when people do that, it's always interesting to see, as Chuck likes to say, is it clever or is it good? And I think this case is clever, but he knows more about 40K than I do.
It's a great just list check. It is 22 hellhounds level of list check. Like, can you handle this? Yes, no. Like that is, and that is exactly what Anthony I think is hitting on here. Is it is a yes/no question, but there are enough armies in the meta that can say yes that there is a chance that he hits that.
I think that Drukhari does a really good job of presenting opponents with enough unique challenges that playing something like Thin City is just essentially ceding your ability to do a lot of that for the sake of a list check that isn't very difficult to hit the check on.
Right.
It's like
That's the best way you could possibly say that.
Yep.
Agreed.
Yeah.
In fact, that was so good that we're going to move on because we don't have a lot of time with Anthony.
Yep.
So Custodes, tell us what you think now we haven't seen the LVO lists. And
Well,
I have to, well, maybe Mitch has. I have to be careful here because I have some insider Custodes list information that's not public from what people are taking. So I don't want to talk about what I think is going to be in a Custodes list. So Anthony, what do you think is going to be in these beat stick? Like there are top tier big name players taking Custodes to LVO. What do you think they're going to have?
my expectation is to see at minimum 1, potentially 2 bike units.
Okay.
Probably a juiced up bike captain, definitely Trajan. I foresee a lot of the builds going like battalion, with like some spear guard or some shield guard to round out the troops. And then the elites are just going to be probably a unit of wardens to abuse bodyguard with your super characters. And then, you'll either take, that's where like the flavor will start to kick in. You'll get some dreadnoughts, a banner. Maybe you'll take the Praetorian Plate Man, who I've been calling Mr. Worldwide because he could teleport all over the board, and I think that name is hilarious.
It's good. I like that one. That's solid.
Yeah, Mr. Worldwide is my favorite nickname I've seen for him so far. So, yeah, that's more or less what I expect. I think probably I would expect out of like the super high level players that don't want to just get like ha-ha'd off the board by Army of Renowned Orcs. I foresee them taking the Dense Banner, so that they can make sure that their skill is still relevant when they play a game against that. Because otherwise you're at a risk of the Orc player just rocking up on you, rolling 5s, and removing you from existence if you don't hit your 4s. So
Anthony is now the only person allowed to name things, has been announced in the chat.
The jargon is really excellent.
Love it. And Anthony, I'm being told that John Lennon's list is public, so I'm allowed to be a lot more participatory here.
that's good, because I don't know what it is.
Yeah, so John is taking Custodes, mono Custodes, to LVO. Yep. And that is significant because John was positioned to win Forces of the Hive Mind. And he believes that Forces is S tier, and he believes that Custodes is S tier. And I said, come on the show and talk about it. And John said, my girlfriend says we have to go out. So they're busy.
You got me.
So I asked Anthony instead, who's a lot like John, only smaller. That was supposed to be funny, and it just sounded mean, Anthony. I'm just going to apologize and let's just move on.
It's okay.
So I did mean it to. So John's list has 1 unit of bikes, Trajan. He is taking 5 of the man-at-arms guys who are just cheap, unaffiliated people because they can do things. And Custodes is light on things that are inexpensive that can do things. It's like some rogue trader unit that is BS that he just happens to have in there.
So yeah, what it effectively allows him to do is you cut 20 points off of taking another Sisters of Silence unit instead, and they're able to deep strike. They're a solid little unit. They're just guardsmen.
Okay, so John has Trajan, bike captain, 2x3 of the Sagittarium, 5 Silent Sisters of Silence, 5 Voidsmen. That's the people we were just talking about. Yep. 2 Spear Dreads, 3 wardens, 2 bikes, 2x3 bikes. Oh, it was 1x6 bikes when I saw the list. For those that are wondering why I said it was 1 unit of bikes. 2x3 bikes and a Caladius. So I know a couple of these things I know about. The dreadnoughts are undervalued by the community, but if you look at them, they're basically the durability of a Contemptor dreadnought, only better. So
I have been saying this for months.
Those things are so good.
They're just great. The Caladius is a neat add because if you don't have it, all of your shooting is 24 inches. And so the Caladius has this one thing that shoots 48. And I'm a gun guy. Mitch is like, yeah, that's right.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
no,
like,
it's
like the utility of that. Like, Chuck, how many times did you try to make the cannon wagon or whatever that thing is called work? So you could have the one thing that's long range
something
shooting.
to shot.
Let's hit on the selling points here. It has fly. It hits on 2s. It has 48-inch range, strength 9, AP 3, 3 plus D3 damage, I believe, or it might be AP 4.
Or it can shoot multiple shots, right?
Yeah, and it also gets rerolls now because the Emperor's Chosen.
And everybody's playing Emperor's Chosen. And so what does Emperor's Chosen do, Anthony?
So Emperor's Chosen does one very important thing and one situationally important thing. So what I would term the more important of the two is that it gives you a 4-up feel no pain against mortals, which forever has been Custode's instant death. And then the other side of it is that it gives you a hit or a wound reroll, either or, not both. And that is situationally very good. It's just that a lot of stuff in Custodes either hits on a 2 and it's mega strength, so it wounds often on 2. So that part is good, but not always super relevant. It's very helpful for the Caladius, which is low shot count but high shot quality.
Mm-hmm.
But that 4-up against mortals is mega annoying to fight against because you're like, oh, they're really expensive. I'll hit them with some mortals. They're like, nah, son, not today.
Well, it completely changes the matchup against Thousand Suns.
Yeah,
which wasn't necessary.
That's gonna wreck Zach.
Yeah. Which wasn't the worst matchup. It wasn't good for them, but they had some play, but now they're like, oh, this is fine. And then the obviously Grey Knights, huge deal. And then also looking forward to Tau, their stratagem to be able to inflict mortal wounds. There's a lot of different ways that mortal wounds are in the game now. And
Thick City, it's huge in that matchup because the Ichor injectors and the flesh gauntlets, it's a big deal.
Absolutely.
That's actually the matchup I'm excited about because I have Drukhari friends saying that Thick City is going to eat Custodes, and I have Custodes friends saying that Thick City is going to get rolled through. So both sides seem to think that it will not be a close game, and they both are of opposite opinions on who it will be not a close game for. So I'm really interested in that.
Let's hit on one last really fundamental thing about Custodes that people need to understand, and that's that they get to pick their fighting stances.
Mm-hmm.
That allows them an adaptability that almost no other armies have, because they get to pick them. Well,
okay, minus 2-inch pile-in as an example.
Yeah,
they can pick that for a turn, or they can give it to a unit with a stratagem. And they can say to you, we're in combat, but you can only pile in 1 inch and not 3. And if you think that doesn't matter...
Getting some...
Yeah, I think Anthony's getting crazy background. Crazy...
I am muted.
No, I think it's Adam.
Oh, is Adam connected?
Yes, Adam has joined the chat.
Oh, hello, boys.
Oh, hello, Adam.
How's it going?
Good. You're going to have to hold on for just a minute because we're running a little bit behind. We will talk to...
You PM me when you're back.
No, you just hang out. You're fine. We're only with Anthony for a few more minutes. So, Anthony, are you still here?
I am still here. Count
Okay.
me into the group of friends, by the way, that is firmly I play Thick City. I think it's fairly favored, but I think it's really close and really mission dependent. Put me right in the middle.
Okay. Well, that's a good place to be. So, go ahead. Go ahead, Mitch.
Real quick, that's where the Achilles dreadnoughts come in. They have 5 or 6 attacks. That's 3 plus D3 damage.
Yeah, they have 5 days. They hurt real bad.
Yeah.
Yeah, you gotta be careful.
And then they can have shooting that's flat 3 damage. Just everything they do, Thick City got into. they don't really want to be part of, and Thick City isn't particularly efficient into them, especially with a 4-up against mortals. So that's like specific tech for that. Like it's really good.
Yeah, they're great in that matchup. It'd be pretty hard to.
If you are bringing Custodes to LVO, do not have 6 bite.
Guys,
What are you doing?
We're getting terrible audio now. I don't know how to solve that, but let's just take a quick pause to look at if it's the computer or the internet. I think we might be through it now. Let's see if it gets better. If not, we'll reconnect here for
storm.
if it gets better.
Side went away.
Oh, Chuck's bad too. It's everybody but me. That's not good. Okay,
Can't
Anthony.
even blame it on Australian.
Anthony, can you hear me? Okay.
Yes.
And can I hear you? Okay.
Just fine.
Okay. The audio is very bad now. Ever since Adam joined, which is weird.
Okay.
I am going to remove Adam, but we'll bring him back in a minute. I just am trying to diagnose problems. Okay, because maybe we can't have 5 people in the Skype, right? That could just be, it could be that simple. All right.
Oh, yeah, that could be it. Be too
So-
much work.
Let's see if we're okay now. Someone other than me talk. I can't tell through me talking if there's a problem.
Okay. So Anthony, thank you so much. Hearing you talk about Dark Eldar is always just awesome. Anthony is also super active on our Discord and is a huge like part of the community there. And the amount of just different armies you have like insight on, man, it's continually impressive.
Thanks. I do my best to try and contribute, to the best of my ability. I learned a lot from the community, so I do my best to give back where I can.
All right, we're going to do a 2-minute lightning round with Anthony because we do have some questions for him. And Anthony, just as a reminder, you were supposed to answer these quickly, and you have to because we don't have a lot of time.
I am an avid listener, Colin. I know how this works.
How long before you perform a coup d'etat to topple Naden?
Never. He is the captain, and I respect his role as such.
Oh, that
Sounds exactly like somebody's going to do a coup d'etat.
Yeah, exactly. That just sounds like someone who wants onto the ETC team. That's all that sounds like.
It sounds like it's soon to me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You've had an amazing season so far. Where do you feel your weaknesses as a player, and how do you plan on rectifying it?
Whoa, that's a deep question. Quickly as possible, I think that my ability to play into creating more of a primary differential is probably something that I could work on. I tend to get real focused on winning the battle of the game and winning the murder game and using that to drive my primary decisions rather than the other way around. And I think sometimes that is definitely to my detriment.
Definitely not.
All right. And what is your goals for the next ITC season? Anything new or different?
Honestly, the season was so far beyond what I had expected. And I'm probably going to go into the next season with the same mindset, which is to play only the game that is in front of me, to look past no opponent, and try and learn something from every game that I play.
I love it. When are you officially launching Art of Violence?
I will help anyone that is willing to work with me. I don't actually have like an official coaching platform, at least not yet. But it is definitely something I'm open to if people want, assistance. It's definitely can be tough sometimes to find a coach out there to help you with aggressive play. And I am here to help the people that are like me when I was new and I was lost and confused.
When you were just a babe.
Yes,
Lost in the 40K woods.
So
That's
I
right.
have a question for Anthony really quickly. It just occurred to me, genuinely. Obviously, we just had Nick on, and just listening to what you were talking about there. And with your insight into obviously martial arts and different level, different stuff like that, play style. Do you feel that a person's play style is more analogous to a musical style, so finding a music coach, or more like a fighting style where you need to find something that in more reminiscent of that?
I think often the best way to do it is to figure out how the person approaches the game and then work backwards from there. I don't think that, like, sometimes with fighting, you can take a person and teach them your way, and that will become their style. I don't think that works super well in 40K. I think a lot of that stuff it's a lot harder to, like, I've found this especially recently with trying to help my own team and stuff. Like, the players that are not aggressive, I struggle to assist as much because I'm like, no, we need to go get them and do this. And they're like trying to hide back and play more conservatively. And I just like, I'm not very good at helping them achieve that goal. And it's not like I can get them to just be me, because that's not how that works. We're all different. So we should play to their strengths. So I found, I don't know a ton about music coaching, but I'm assuming it's more like, you know, option A than option B there. So yeah.
Well, I could talk for 20 minutes on music coaches versus 40K coaches, but I don't think we have time for that today.
Different podcast.
Yeah, different podcast. So Anthony, the final question
really
is:
insightful.
do you know where my shelf is?
I do not. If I knew, I would have told you right away, Colin. I
appreciate that. Well, the listeners have requested that I ask everyone where my shelf is. So I've asked you now where the shelf is.
I don't have insight.
Okay.
I'm too new
all
to
right.
Charity Hammer. They wouldn't trust me with info like that. That's you got to look behind the corners and talk to the cabal.
And the final question is: would you like to come back to Charity Hammer?
Absolutely. It was such an awesome experience last year, even with all the sleep deprivation. It was fantastic.
He was earlier today. He
Most
said
of that
that Thursday 3 was rough, but he doesn't remember Thursday 4.
Correct. That's true. Thursday 4 does not exist anymore. Thursday 3 was difficult.
That's how Tyler was referring to them with his not sleeping plan.
Yeah. No, me and Tyler were very much on the same page. I got that statement from him.
Yeah. I remember that on Friday rather, I got up and I walked out there and I'm like, how's it going? He's like, second Thursday's going just fine. No.
Exactly.
All right, Anthony, I really appreciate your long support of the show, and you are such a new breath of fresh air. You're such a great contribution to the community. I'm so hyped that you're getting as engaged as you are. We're definitely going to have you on again, especially when Elf Rules come out. You're going to do Craft World Eldar too, aren't you? So you can come talk to me about CWE.
That's the plan. I'm gonna at least try and get into that. With being the newest announced member of Team America, I don't know that I'll be given the opportunity to play them at the world stage because we have Sean on the team. But I will definitely be playing them in the sleep a little bit. Yeah. Mr. Naden being the captain puts a wrench in me wanting to do that. So I'll probably play them in singles a little.
I think that he should get his ego out of the way and let the younger generation take over. That's what I think.
Nah, he's an elderly king, and if I beat him in single combat, he'll let me have it. But most likely, he'll just break me over his knee. So.
Well, I would watch all of that. So okay, we're gonna let you go.
Yeah, I mean, like, this is a great game of like Wraith Bones or whatever.
Oh, gross. All right, Anthony, thanks so much, man. We're gonna bring Adam in.
Thanks for
Bye
coming
now.
on.
Thanks, man.
Have a great night.
All right, let's bring Adam back. I think the problem was we can't have 5 people. For whatever reason. Not tonight. Not like this.
Sometimes we do.
I know, but not like this. Adam's here.
Hello again, boys. Please let me know if the audio goes to hell.
Yeah, basically. Well, and it's not, we can't even blame Australia, which is really upsetting me.
Right. Yeah.
Because
really
normally when you're on the show,
me-
we just blame Australia for any internet problem. And you go, guys, they're telling the truth. It's Australia's fault. But this time, no. Because where are you right now?
I'm in Tallahassee. I'm in a pretty average hotel though. So, but I'm hotspotting off my phone, off my 5G. So it should be fine.
Okay. You're not in the trap house?
No, there's no room in the trap house. Trap house would be full. I'm just there every day.
Okay. All right. They have a dog that likes you?
No. There's 2 dogs on this planet that do not like me. One of them is your Labrador.
Don't like
and
you.
one of them is Nick's Labrador. I have nothing to say about in the case. I have nothing to say.
So
I mean, we're going to be launching an investigation. Don't worry, our investigators will be
I
contacting.
am way more comfortable with Gus not liking Adam than I am with my shelf being missing. Like, if we're going to investigate something,
That's right.
I think we got to find the
No
shelf
leads
that's
there.
missing.
We've already, that went viral. We got nothing.
Yeah, I know.
Like the glue thing as well. It's got to be the same person, right?
Oh my, that glue thing really did upset me. I've had
That's
two
not a
different
brand
things in
I
my
use,
home
so I
destroyed
know
by
I'm
people leaving glue things on their sides. Like I don't know. Is everybody new to 40K? Like are you new to hobby? Like it's glue. Like why is this confusing?
Yeah.
Anyways, okay.
Yeah.
So Adam, we'd like to start your visit with, first of all, thanking you because you've been an enthusiastic supporter of us the entire time. We've been on your show a bunch. We've like
You have. I don't think I've missed one of your episodes, boys. I think I've listened to just
No.
about every single episode you've done from number one.
Now, so here's the thing. I was thinking about this. Doing 100 episodes doesn't mean anything because 100 of something doesn't mean that it's of value. I was thinking about this today. It could be 100 pennies. Not exciting. It could be 100 trucks, 100 trains, right?
Or
Much more value.
Or it could be a minimum of 100 hours of entertainment you've given me.
A minimum. It's probably much closer to 200 hours.
It's a lot more than that.
Exactly.
Which in fairness is 270 hours Australian.
That's a lot. Yeah, exactly. But yeah, it's a lot. You guys have been very entertaining. I mean, the Better Human stuff you did was a game changing for me. The fact that you guys took that on as a group and stuck through that, I think that was amazing, and it was the best showcase I've had for. I mean, so the only one that was similar to that, I think, is the best general. For somebody in our platform taking on that level of something and really saying, hey, we don't have to just talk about hobby and laugh and poo jokes and wee jokes and who's got the crappier list. We can actually just try and do some good. And you guys, absolute superstars.
Okay. Well, so that's your favorite thing we've done, or is it Charity Hammer?
It's the most impactful thing you've done for me because it really opened my eyes to what I can do with my platform as well and showed what can be done for all of us. But yeah, Charity Hammer, 100%, hands down. My favorite bit.
When we pick that back up, when we pick Better Human, Better 40K back up, I think we should have Adam on. I think that Adam should do Better Human, Better 40K with us.
Also, I'd be my absolute honor.
Yeah.
Maybe we talk about with you. Maybe we talk about addiction and willpower.
Yeah,
which are for me, not addiction is not drug addiction, but addiction of other things. Definitely is a part of gets in the way of my succeeding for sure.
Mitch, what's up?
Oh, so no, I do think you are the person we've had the most on the podcast.
Oh, I don't think
really
is. It's got to be John Lennon, right?
Oh,
if
he's not first, he's second, because like the number of faction focuses I did with him alone was a lot.
I was going to say we've definitely been on his podcast the most.
I've had you all on my podcast multiple times.
Especially if you count us all individually for the individual times where we weren't there with each other.
Yeah.
That's a lot. Adam, so I the minute we met in person, I was just like, this guy's got to be my friend. And like I'm just so excited for the journey you're on, and I literally was like, how do we get Adam on the show to talk about this journey he's on? And it's so appropriate for our 100th birthday to talk about the big change you just made. So 2 years ago now at Charity Hammer, you said to me, I would do anything to find a path that lets me do professional 40K. That's what you said. Yep. So what has happened for you in the last few months? What's changed in your life?
So it goes back to then when I came over for Charity Hammer and LVO in January 2020, and literally straight after that, I knew I wanted to make a run at this, and I would have done it immediately after. Like I was going to come back for Feb, maybe March, and head back over to there and make a run of it, say April, May, and then the world went to hell. So the next chance I've gotten to come over this and have a run has been right now. I waited for the first window I had, and bang, I was out the door. Unfortunately, due to the state of the world, I'm not over here on a visa. I'm over here on a 3-month stay. I have to bounce out every 3 months, and then the US gets to say whether they let me back in. But right now, I'm over here trying to make a run at being a professional content creator, a professional 40K personality, and above and beyond, trying to be a professional 40K commentator. So that's the big one for me. If I can do that professionally, if I could be I can't be the first professional 40K commentator. Paul and Nick took that from me. That's totally fine. More than happy for the boys. In fact, it's fantastic that anybody can be doing it. I don't give a crap if it's not me.
But you could be the first that does it competently. So, I mean, I kid. No, those guys are great.
Deep cut.
No, those guys are
We
great.
just had him on.
Now, well, okay, fair.
I know.
But he did
he's not
say,
watching.
I'm not a Vadi and I'm here to potty so flippin' many times.
And
everyone I know was messaging him, you have to stop saying this.
Look, I had a chat with him after that as well, and I'm like, do it now because the meme value will circulate your name, but stop.
He said
Just
he
stop.
kept doing it for like 3 tournaments.
He
like-
did. He did. It was the right thing to do. Everyone remembers him now. Everyone freaking remembers it. Like, I'm not sure he did it on purpose, but it worked.
Well,
in,
no, it's a very
backwards.
John Madden strategy. And I
That
respect
guy's got mud on his jersey.
Yeah. If there's time on the clock, there's time on the clock.
Yeah, like but they've got to play this down because if they don't, they'll give up the ball. Like,
Right.
If they don't score here, they're going to lose. Yes, true.
So yeah, I'm here right now. I'm in the Art of War house. My affiliations with them are probably as long-standing as my affiliations with you guys. I mean, me and Mitch go back like probably about 3 years of just talking wonky lists.
I doubt that there's a week that goes by that we haven't talked at least a few times.
Yeah, and we usually like these days. It's usually, hey, how you doing, man? Like crazy times we live in, right?
We don't even talk about 40K.
40K as much. Yeah, we kind of evolved past that. But yeah, I'm here trying to make a run of this. I am headed to the LVO. I'm lucky enough that I'm going to be commentating LVO, which is a big, juicy coup. I love that. I'm very happy to be doing that. And
The Ocho returns.
Yes, it does. And
It's really exciting.
It's fantastic. I am, I think, one of the locked-in commentators for every FLG event, which is superb. Very happy. And if I can wear the hat of like Art of War, Streamhouse, on a couple of the games and a couple of the clinics, some of the War Room stuff, and then go and do all the frontline gaming events, I will be a very happy man.
All right, let's talk about LVO.
Well, yeah.
If you were playing in it, what would you take?
Templars.
Okay.
I mean, yeah,
Yeah.
You had a podcast dedicated to Mono Templars.
Did you guess?
I don't actually listen to podcasts, Adam.
That's fair.
I don't think they're going to catch on.
I'm still a podcast hoe. I will eat all my podcast content.
Okay, that's great. Because someone has to listen to the stuff we make, so I really appreciate that.
Yeah, I feel the same way. I can't listen. So I don't know if you guys do what I do. So I listen to I will try and listen to at least half an hour of every one of my shows once every month or two, and I call it the douche check. I just need to check if I'm sounding like a douchebag. I need to pull up.
I don't listen to the episodes when I
did, so I quit.
I don't listen to the episodes while I'm editing them, but I do jump through them. I do listen to like 2 or 3 minutes at like 10 different places in the show, but that's actually just to make sure nobody turned into a robot without me knowing.
That's fair too.
So okay.
I don't need to find out if I sound like a douchebag. My self-loathing lets me know.
Yeah, that's right.
Well, I just don't want to have my little voices confirmed. This is pretty much what I'm after.
That's great. All right, so you're not playing, so we don't have to worry about you winning LVO with Templars.
No, he's just going to be winning with the commentary.
He already has one. He's in a perpetual state of winning.
That's how I feel about it, boys. I really do. When I'm reaching my goals, and when you're reaching your goals, you're like, life is good. Being in this Shark Tank house, this thing is the hyperbolic time chamber. This trap house, it's messed up. It's messed up how good these guys are. And playing with what I heard the chat Anthony Vanilla had you guys talking about Custodes versus Thick City, and I'll tell you the perception in the house is that if the Custodes player is competent and has enough reps, the Thick City player doesn't have a chance. But that's what they're up against. Custodes players with like these guys have been playing as hardcore as they can. They've got less than 20 reps with the list versus like Anthony Vanilla, who's been playing nothing else.
Hundreds of lists of Drukhari.
Exactly. And that's what the custodian players are up against.
All right, so I want to dive into talking factions because we have great lightning round questions for you, and I want to make sure we have time for them. So we're going to start with Templars. I would like you to tell us. So I have not played in a tournament since the new Templar Codex came out.
I've noticed.
So tell me. Well, I was on a break. I'm excited about GSC. I'm back. I have hobby stuff sitting right here ready to build trucks.
That book is so far up your alley, mate. You will love it.
Well, I'm going to play Forces at first because it's a lot less of a hobby left.
And it's a lot.
And I get to shoot people with Hive Guard until they're nerfed into the ground. Anyways, we got Alex McDougall coming later, so we'll get plenty of that.
I won't steal his thunder there.
All right, so Templars, tell me what the kind of meta Templar list looks like and what it does.
So I played a game against Nick on stream yesterday,
Okay.
in a kind of a coaching game, and I was playing what me, Jack, and John have kind of conceptualized as kind of the best Templars list that we feel like we can build into the current meta.
Okay.
It's playing a lot of durable infantry,
Okay.
innately because they've got the baby transhuman and the 5+ invulnerable
Sure.
save Vow. It's playing the patented John Lennon 14-man Primaris Crusader squads. That's with the 1 sword brother with the power axe, 5 initiates, and 8 neophytes. So you min-max to get the maximum amount of neophytes, because that's the cheapest way to run it to get the most wounds, bang for your buck.
Sure.
2 14-mans of that, 1 10-man intercessors with assault bolters, and that was a revelation for us, figuring out that was actually good in the meta at the moment. Because you've got devout push and reroll advances, that unit becomes really flexible for going through terrain, getting angles, double shooting, especially given rerolls with Helbrecht. And then it's got 2 redemptors. Sorry, the HQs were Helbrecht, Primaris Apothecary, on bike or not, your choice. And then those were the 3 to battalion. I like taking 5 Vanguard veterans that are there to do a bunch of mortal wounds. Like a sergeant's got claws and 6s to wound and mortal wounds. And then you give them a litany, and every 6 to wound will be 2 mortal wounds, and he rerolls to wound. And then the rest of the squad can do another couple of mortals on top. I take and then I just take some company vets and a big fatty unit of eradicators.
Mm-hmm.
And the whole premise of the list is I can go meat for meat with Thick City. It's a list that can go meat for meat for Thick City. Helbrecht's +1 strength aura means those Crusader bricks actually go through racks really, really quickly. And then on top of that, I have everything insulated in the Eradicators. If I move up in the center of the field as a block, they can just pick up Talos pretty much at will. The only thing I really got to worry about is like things like Succubuses jumping over my lines, getting deep and picking up a squad when I don't want them to. But luckily, with the innate durability dumb stuff you get to do with Relic Bearers, I've got -1 damage and a Super Sergeant in that Eradicator squad. So he's got 4 wounds with -1 damage. So even a Triptych Witch Whip comes in, chances are like she doesn't kill half the squad. And then I res that fatty sergeant back, shoot her dead, or punch her dead and move on with my life. So it lines up very well against like thickness for thickness. Like I mean, a Demacaron goes into that Crusader squad and kills 3 Crusaders on average. That's with 9. That's with 10 attacks. 9 big ones and a tail, hitting on 2s, re-rolling, but only wounding on 3+, and then I can have a 4+ invuln once per game, or I just have a 5+, and then I can have 5+ feel no pain, 6+ feel no pains. So a demo only kills 3 or 4 Crusaders.
So durable, flexible, quick, kind of all the things.
That's the issue. It's not quick. One thing can be kind of quick. Nothing can advance and charge.
Right.
But what it wants to do, it can't be quick to be aggressive, but it can be quick to post up. You want to get to the middle first and be like, I'm stupidly hard to kill. I want to see you try. You can't get there and be aggressive when you get there, but you can definitely get there first.
Okay. So is it a little Dark Angels-y then?
It is, but it's Dark Angels.
Shocker.
Yeah, I know. That's true. Dark Angels live and die against a lot of different profiles, and I just don't feel like you get enough units to play into a lot of different armies.
I'm not saying Dark Angels are good. Dark Angels is like I'm going to go to the middle of the table and hold the table, and you can't take it from me. They love that.
So, yeah, this is
Death Guard maybe is a better example.
Yeah. Again, Death Guard's a great one. They play quite a bit like Death Guard, except they freaking feel no pain. Way more feel no pain. Invulns across the board and baby transhuman. So yeah, there's a lot more defensive buffs.
Of course, they're better. They don't have. They're both written for it to be chaos. So
correct.
Yeah.
That's why Death Guard and Dark Angels aren't good. It's because they're from the chaos rule set.
Yeah.
Yeah, Chuck, paying that chaos tax.
Yeah. Yeah, I snuck the Dark Angel Chaos joke in there, and it just went right through. Everybody was just, that sounds right.
I'm immune to it now.
Okay, so aside from how bad Dark Angels are, Templars, I think Templars sound really cool. What are they worried about, matchup wise? So
I am now worried about Custodes. Custodes do just go straight into me and don't care because my rerolls mean again. Also, Space Marines just can't be Custodes. All Space Marine armies function off rerolls, being their modus operandi, and then rerolls get shut down. Thunderhammers get shut down by Transhuman, and Custodes just walk on through. And plus, they got a bunch of 2 damage stuff that Primaris Marines just fall right over. So worried about them. I've actually played a couple of games of the GSC, and that's actually a bit of a rough matchup. But the one that's even rougher is the Forces.
Yeah,
which is Forces is
just better than just better than Mono GSC is what it sounds like.
Well, you talk about Mono GSC, and you're like, how does this not just get better with Hiveguard? And it's like, yeah, bang.
And the thing that Alex and I are going to talk about that no one's listening, it's not the Hiveguard, it's Termagants, the best thing in the game.
The Hive Guard are the misnomer. They're the lodestone
Yeah.
to make you do dumb stuff that the Tyranny player wants you to do, and then the Gaunts just get to go in.
I am
maul
going
you
to play. I'm going to play 227s, 228s, something like that for forces because the Termagants, the amount of shooting that they get is just so dumb that it just outmaths things. But anyways,
The only thing that's comparable to Gaunts was Cultists as a start of 8th edition, where you get 30 Cultists, double shooting with +1 to wound and all the Slanesh buffs and all that stuff. That was the only thing we've seen. And that was like 4 years ago.
Right.
These Gaunts are horrific.
Yeah.
Good times.
But they
I
basically,
think
they're
you might be
basically,
discounting Ludas, but all right.
yeah, well,
It's true. Well, that was strength 7.
you know,
There's
speaking
also,
of things that happen
Admech.
100 times, we basically get 100 arc nerfs every time they're good.
Yeah. Orcs is another one that is a bit of an issue for Templars. The Goth list that just has waves and waves and waves, they can really wear you down. Essentially, I've got 2 14-mans to kind of be my insulation for my whole army. If they get stripped away early, I really struggle. And so Orcs can do that really well. They just, shove a unit of boys down your throat, and then or 2 units into one 14-man, and they can afford to use that 2 units of boys. I can't really afford to lose the 14-man.
Well, it's the same problem with GSE, right? Like that's the same issue.
Yeah, exactly the same. I do find that GSC actually struggled to do it with 1 unit. Like, especially if I've got the 5+ field net paint up, like 1 unit of Pure Strains doesn't go in and kill 14 Crusaders. It doesn't get.
No, they have to commit a bit more, but they still don't care if those guys die. They can afford to lose it to strip it away from you, because then they can deep strike something in and just murder characters or whatever else they need to do. And if they kill your apothecary, your game's over.
Exactly right, especially if they get to him before he pops a 4-up invuln. And a lot of people will try and bait the 4-up invuln turn, knowing that it's the turn that I'm trying to go up there and force them to commit into the turn that I pop it. And yeah, so there's a few ways to negate the tricks that Templars have. And like I said, the biggest thing that worries me is speedy armies. If you're just faster than me, it's a no-bueno. The same issues that Marines have always had with the old Drukhari builds. Anything that can do something like that is always going to be an issue.
Okay. In the spirit of time, we need to move on from Templars. Is there anything else Mitch or Adam wants to say about Templars?
They're about as good as it gets with power armor right now. Them are Iron Hands is as good as it gets. Unfortunately.
Oh, I forgot to even include Iron Hands. They are quite good. Give us 1 minute. Give us 1 minute on Iron Hands.
So if you're going to play shooty Marines, that's when you're going to have a castle, but you want to be able to defend the castle. You play Iron Hand successors. You can take if you want to be a meme lord, you take your Achilles Land Raider. Give it the Ironstone and all the buffs, or you can do what I was doing. You can either take a drop pod with a bunch of multi-melted devs in it, or you take 2 units of Eradicators, which is what I've been doing, a 4-man and a 6-man, and then you can even divide up the 6-man if you want, and then you play keepings off the Eradicators while they go about killing everything inside. Every turn they just kill everything they can see, because you can make 1 chapter master, 1 can be in Dev Doctrine, so it's hitting on 3s with the captain rolling 1s, and just annihilate everything. March them into the middle of the board, defend them with Vanguard Vets, brutality incarnate.
Okay. Great.
You had me at Land Raider.
Yeah,
right?
boy. It's actually so good. You put a unit of devs inside the Land Raider, and it's great.
Okay, so Grey Knights.
Yes.
Are they relevant to LVO?
They are, with an asterisk.
Okay, tell us about it.
So Grey Knights are in this weird spot where all the things that they're good at, and all their defensive strats, and all the things that make them good, are getting squished on 2 sides. So Crusher Stampede and Hive Guard are innately good into Marine bodies and what Grey Knights do. So they're getting squished on this side. And every single person who's teching to go into Thick City and Talos is squishing them from this side. And they're kind of in this middle spot in the middle where all their defensive, like especially Dreadknights. Dreadknights get smashed monster for monster into just about every other monster in the game. They can't reliably go into 3 Talos, a single one, and they'll kill 1 and then get killed by the other 2 back. Same thing for Crusher. They'll go into a Dimmerkeron, and what happens? If they kill it, theoretically they kill it, they fight on death and kills them straight back. Like, it's horrible. On top of that, Hive Guard pick up power armor bodies like you wouldn't believe.
Yeah.
Like all your board presence will evaporate in 2 turns. You won't be able to hold an objective anymore. So they're getting squished into this side by anybody who's taken forces or Crusher, and like I said, squished in by this side. But anybody's packing like multi-melters to try and deal with Crusher. And
So what if you were to say take just like 5 Dread Knights and 3 Telemon?
You're still going to get obliterated by Crusher and Thick
you
City.
will do better. You'll do better.
You will. It's true.
but live by the meme, die by the meme.
I was mainly just joking.
So
you're not wrong. You're not wrong though.
is that enough is that enough on Grey Knights? Like they're just kind of.
So Grey Knights are still immensely flexible. They're still a really good army. They've got one of the despite being a relatively boring army in that like the list is essentially solved. They're still very high skill cap. Like you can get like 80% good, and then that last 20% offers you so much flexibility in game to just a great general because you can gate over here, you can fire and fade here, you can be over there, whatever.
To complement what Adam's saying, there we also have to remember they can change out a secondary.
Exactly right.
They can redeploy. They have a really I think it's something that's been overlooked in some of the different podcasts about their intercept ability costs points, and it allows any unit once in the game to just intercept. Mm-hmm. That is fundamentally important in the hive mind matchup. Yep. That is fundamentally important in the Custodes matchup for when what was it? I don't remember Vanilla's nickname for him, but the plate captain that teleports.
Yeah, for sure.
Around the world, Mr. Around the World or whatever.
Yeah. It's Pitbull, Mr. Worldwide.
Yeah, Mr. Worldwide. That's right.
It's from American Gods. It's a Neil Gaiman thing, right? Yeah.
Yeah. I do agree.
Yeah, so there are fundamental pieces of tech they have access to that you can build into Grey Knights lists. But whether or not the player base has made those adjustments is going to broadly determine the outcome there.
I also think that some of the changes, a lot of Drukhari. So upon Grey Knights entering the meta and fixed the altar into Thick City, Grey Knights was favored. I thought Grey Knights was favored into Thick City, and I held by that for quite a while because they could just go +1 to wound, +1 damage onto you, Mr. 3 Talos, and these 3 Dread Knights on average kill 2.5 or all 3 of yous, just annihilate them. But the tech choices and the depth of the Drukhari book and be able to take like the Test of Skill Hellions, the other bits and pieces has flipped it the other way. Now Drukhari is slightly favored into Grey Knights. So even when you were taking them because they were good into Drukhari, they're not quite there right now. So I worry about Grey Knights. I still think they are one of the best books in the game, one of the best armies in the game, but they're a little bit too, because they're so linear, because they don't have the ability to really change up their list. Their list is locked. Their best list is so much better than everything else. They're so easy to metaphor, and they're so linear in how they go about the game.
I think there is a little bit of flexibility in how you build and you can tech with them. And I think that there is also, people underestimate the soup ability of Grey Knights.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah.
And I think that with the changes going forward past LVO, we're even going to see that be highlighted more because now you can't take a sub faction if you want a soup, you want to get some depth. Grey Knights is a great one to do it because you can just be like, oh, I took 4 Dread Knights. Look at that. Wow. I have this great power base and gun platforms that are all just good in every phase of the game. I think the other thing that really matters is how many hammers the Grey Knights players have for LVO.
You can't just take fists on your Dread Knights. It's all swords and hammers. Like you can't.
Well, swords are okay. Hammers are what you need on every single Grandmaster. Yeah. Every Grandmaster has to have a hammer. I will die on that hill.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
It is fundamental because Grandmasters are the guys who have the most mobility, the most ability to be like, oh man, I need to take out that one unit.
Yeah.
And they can go get it done. And with a hammer, they can get it done against anything. And that's what
I agree.
Okay. We have to get to Adam's lightning round. He has by far the most questions.
That's lovely.
All right. So
did you put
Adam,
them in yourself, or?
Out of all the co-hosts, out of all the hosts of BIFPOD and the other co-hosts we have tonight, which includes Seth and Alex and the people we've already had, and Seth and Alex, I think is right.
Yeah.
And Danny. We're gonna have a Danny here in a little bit. Who do you think you could take in a fight?
All of them.
Okay.
At once, or
Anthony? You're gonna fight
Vanilla.
You're gonna fight Vanilla?
I know Anthony's good. So yeah, sure. Why not?
Okay. Are you actually some sort of trained fighter, or is this like, or in Australia as a child, do you wrestle wallabies?
I'm a phenomenally dirty fighter.
Okay. Speaking of being dirty, someone would like to know how long is the longest you've worn the tank top without washing it.
Oh, So at WTC, ETC singles is a 2-day event, and then the actual ETC is a 3-day event. So 5 days is the answer there.
The hell is wrong with you? That's my question.
That's how you win that fight.
I was poor. I could only afford one. I was going to wear my colors every day. Damn it.
Okay, well, poor is a pretty difficult answer for me to continue making fun of you about. So,
As for the fight one, I have no intentions of ever fighting anybody seriously ever again. So
okay.
Yeah.
General thoughts on the current state of Warhammer 40K as an esport, and where do you think it needs to? What do you think needs to happen for it to really take off?
It's getting closer and closer. Right now, we just need the endorsement. We just need somebody to say, "Here's a bunch of money. Make a pro circuit. Get 20 players together. Make it go." We could make it go, and it would be touch. So we could get the sponsorship. We could get the production is almost there. Like with what me, Val, and the Ocho guys are doing, what they've done for GW, what they've done for FLG. The production level is almost at the professional level. Like and we've got paid commentators now. We're gonna have paid production crews pretty soon. So I think we're about 12 months away from being able to say, hey, we could make a go of this. Some things that need to have happened. GW actually needs to get on board. GW needs to say, hey, this is a thing that we actually want. It's almost can't be a thing until they do.
Mm-hmm. That makes sense. Okay.
Yeah.
Since starting your American 40K adventure, what has been your biggest lesson learned?
Humility? No, I was very humble. I didn't go into the trap house thinking I was going to be like superstar or anything. I think the biggest lesson learned is trust in your skills, in the things that, like, I've got multiple years of production and podcasting and shoutcasting under my belt, and I needed to come over here and not get intimidated, to just be myself and use the things that got me where I am now. Because I know you guys are all late, but I outthink myself, and I'm my worst enemy the vast majority of the time. Like, I've got very few real life enemies. Most of them live between my ears, and sometimes they get the better of me. So
I think we all relate to that.
Yeah, just trusting that I can be good enough if I'm and I can have what I want. I can work towards my dreams, and they can actually be realities. So, and not being afraid to go for it.
All right. I like that. What's been most surprising about America? Or even Florida, because you live it. That's a special kind of America that you live in.
That's not representative of the country.
Okay, I gotta think of some things that might get me in trouble.
How's Tinder going? Don't answer that.
It's not. I'm not on Tinder. Most surprising thing?
Yes, about America.
The tea. I've been so surprised there's so much good tea around.
Okay.
I can get nice unsweetened tea. Don't get the sweet stuff. That hurts my face. It's so freaking sweet.
Yeah.
I can get good tea everywhere. That's been very surprising.
Okay. Unlike the tea, that was a bland take. Let's move on.
Sorry. I was surprised that Southern hospitality is actually a thing. I thought it was just a meme.
All right.
I thought it was never a thing. It's actually pretty legit.
Have you called any friends at completely preposterous times yet, forgetting the massive time zone change?
My mum, yes.
That's great.
I was like, it's like 2:00 in the afternoon. I think you're just getting out of bed, and she's like, I'm like, I'm sorry, Mum. I'll go later. Yeah.
I'm not gonna.
Yeah.
Someone asked, "What's the best 40K region, and why is it Australia?" And I don't think that's a real question.
That's the best question ever, and I'll tell you why. No, it's fine.
Okay, moving on. On a scale of don't or to stop trying, how do you rate Imperial Guard going into the new season?
Ooh. What were the options?
Don't to stop trying.
I'll go stop trying. Stop trying to make them good. Just accept them for what they are, enjoy them for what they are, and play the game.
All right.
Don't try to be top tier, or you just got to find the right combination.
Stop it, Adam.
Like, yeah, they're trash.
Stop saying things like
I'm
that.
not. I'm not.
No.
You are now with. They need some exception to come in, because as soon as they go to mono sub faction, I really worry what that looks like for guard. Not being out right now, you can't take scions. I can't take a scion and a Cadian detachment as per this rule book.
Well, it's a hell of a thing.
Rough.
Good job, GW. Okay.
Doesn't a pure scions detachment gain a scions regiment keyword as opposed
Isn't
To
it
a normal keyword.
I'll have to PM you. I'm not sure if they still have Astra Militarum and they replace the bracket section, or if they replace Astra Militarum.
No. So they replaced the bracket section, which allows you to have two different. Basically, I do believe it still works.
You can have them in your detachment.
I hope it still works.
Everything else doesn't break it. But yeah, I hope it still works as well.
So Adam, who is
it'll get
Guy?
FAQ
That the next question has Guy in it. Who is Guy?
Who is Guy?
Yeah, it says, how will you win over Guy when next you visit?
Please, apologies, Guy, if you were a close friend of mine, and I have no idea who you are.
Okay. Well, Guy is my actual first name, so I was confused that it was about me. But
really?
It's not.
Colin is not your first name.
Colin is not my first name. We'll wait till the 100th episode to drop that bomb.
Really?
Yeah.
I think we've mentioned
It's been lying to you this entire time.
Yeah. My father is Guy Charles Sherman, and I'm Guy Colin Sherman. And so I've gone by Colin since I was a baby.
I mean, to be fair, Guy and Mitch in the morning still works, so it's fine.
Yeah. Mitch and Colin in the
good.
morning.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so it says, how will you win over Guy when you next visit? When next you visit? I don't know. I guess you'll just reckon.
Gus, how will you win over Gus when next you visit?
Oh, it could be Gus.
That makes the most sense.
That makes a lot more sense.
It does make a lot more sense.
I'm going to stuff my socks with beef jerky.
Oh. I'm concerned.
That's the Adam plan right
I don't think that's a good plan. I think that plan might be fraught with peril.
A footless Adam might have some trouble with the world.
Yes. America is not the country where
how long have you
We
had?
are not a country that's tolerant of people that are different. You do not want to lose your feet.
That's fair. That's
Yeah.
fair.
Okay. How bad is Vegemite withdrawal?
It's not as bad as I thought it was going to be. I've just taken to having a nice big glass of like beef stock in the mornings. I'm finding I'm getting by.
Is there food in Australia that you ate all the time that is either not good in Tallahassee or you just can't find?
The avocados are really sweet here for some reason. Like I've never known avocado to be an innately sweet thing.
Man, I got so many questions about this, and we don't have a fruit expert on the show. Okay.
There are these giant avocados in California, and in Florida, and I got one, I ate it, and I'm like, this tastes like a freaking dessert. It's so sweet.
Well, they
I'm
probably
like, I've never
grow
had
them there, so
avocado.
it's probably super fresh too. I would imagine.
Yeah, it
Okay.
was delicious, but like sweet. And I was like, this is weird as hell.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Sure. Do you know where my shelf is?
I have no idea where your shelf is.
Okay,
it was
great.
It was stolen at Charity Hammer. I wasn't at. I'm marked safe.
Okay. What's the best kind of potato?
Russet makes the best chips, I think, so I'm going to go with that.
Do you like potato chips or baked potato or mashed potato or French fries? Or you're in America, man. There's like 9 potato products. None of them are healthy.
I'm not sure there's a wrong answer to that question. I think they're all beautiful in their own way. Best type of potato for me though is gnocchi.
Oh, man, I don't dislike gnocchi because the potato is an amazing product, but I would have gnocchi last.
Really?
It's like a wasted potato.
Yeah, because
You could have done so much more.
Yeah, it could have been a baked potato. It could have been mashed potatoes.
The greatness of pasta put with the greatness of potato, and they become one beautiful baby together. This is a wonderful
actually
world.
A pretty ballin' gnocchi place in Bellingham that is very delicious.
Well, that's a take that's relevant for like 4 of our listeners, so that's good.
Hey, just like the BBC, we make
I like
content
the really
for
specific
all
takes.
people.
And from now on, we should Yelp stuff and just be like, look, if you're in Little Rock, Arkansas, we've heard.
Actually, if you're in Little Rock, Arkansas, get up.
Okay, let's see. Do we have any other questions for Adam here? We're about to turn Adam into Seth, which will be a weird magic trick.
Love it.
Let's see here.
Is that
Adam, I got to know.
You
From
guys
Australia, notably the most dangerous place you can be.
Mm-hmm.
But now you're in Florida, the truly most dangerous place you can be. What's the weirdest shit you've seen so far?
Seen? Or
Been a part of.
Experienced.
My very first Uber driver from the airport to my accommodation went. So I didn't start any political discourse. I didn't do anything of that kind. Just gotten off the plane in Florida. First experience of Florida. Jump in the Uber right outside the airport, waiting for me. He's lovely. Jumping in, driving. Just start chatting. He's like, "Oh, where you from, mate? I'm from Australia. And how you doing there? Blah 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 blah." No warning whatsoever. Bang! Political tirade. Just full political tirade. Just freaking And I was 20 minutes from my accommodation. I got like 1 minute out the freaking gate, 19 minutes political tirade. I'm like, sweet merciful God, is this what I'm going to experience for the next like 2 months? Yeah, so that's right up there. Because I was like, holy crap, everything they said about Florida is true.
So, Adam, I'll just share a quick anecdote with you that the listeners, I think, will enjoy. Starbucks wants their employees to have small talk with you while you're waiting for your food or your drink.
Yeah.
And they have conversation starters, but they don't have to use them. And I was at Starbucks earlier this week, and the woman said to me, "What color do you think math is? Because I've always thought math is red." That's what she said to me. Like the concept of math. She said it's red, and I said, well, I don't think that math really has a color. And she didn't like that. Oh. So she said...
The right answer was, can I have somebody else make my coffee?
Yeah. And I actually thought to myself, I don't know how to start... I don't know how to turn that into a conversation, and I'll be perfectly honest, I've never not known how to turn something into a conversation before in my entire life. So she said, okay, fine, but we can both agree that Thanksgiving is orange.
What the shit? Was she microdosing? Was she microdosing at work?
Well, no, so like the only response to this is just like, I really feel like it tastes more purple than that.
Yeah,
and then just turn and walk away.
I said, well, I think orange isn't a common color for decoration at Thanksgiving, but it's more common for Halloween. And she said, no. Halloween is purple.
Did you ask her if purple is nonsense?
It's all nonsense
now. Is purple a fruit? Yeah, bounce it right back.
Yeah. All right, Adam. On that bombshell, we're gonna let you go, man. But we're gonna have you back. And by the way, you're gonna come to Charity Hammer, right?
When is it? The one in August?
It's gonna be in July or August. Yeah.
If it dodges WTC, I'll be there.
Well, it has to dodge. It has no choice but to dodge WTC.
Yes. Half the people coming. If theoretically,
I can't do it otherwise. Like I don't have a choice.
In the country, I'll be there.
Okay. All right, Adam. We'll see you later, man.
Love you, boys.
Bye.
See you.
All right, it's time for the Mad Doc himself.
Oh man! Finally, some quality guests.
Are you gonna run this orc interview?
Am I?
Yeah.
Him and I just gonna cry for the next 15 minutes? Is that what we're doing?
Well, I actually would
as
like
long
to...
as there's a lot of grunting involved.
I would actually like to step away for just a minute. So if you could learn about how bad orcs are gonna do at LVO without me, that would be. It's the Mad Doc.
Zero crying in this interview.
I have to make sure that people can see him. Hold on.
Oh, okay.
Hold on.
I allow one single orc tier.
Whoa.
It's really just actually a squig that makes that tier, though. They don't have tear ducts.
Yeah.
The saddest wog.
Tier squig.
No,
Whoa.
I don't. I'm all doom and gloom over here, man. I'm the embodiment of that Bear Grylls meme that they've photoshopped Gaz's face over.
He's
overcome adapt wog.
He's been infected by Kicker's positivity. It's a virus.
It is.
We have 2 pandemics now. It's positivity, which, like, I mean, that's terrifying. I haven't felt that way in years. I wouldn't even know how to handle it.
I could use some of that infection, really.
Hold on, guys. I almost have Seth's technology handled here. All right. So, Seth, hi.
Hey.
Thank you so much for joining us for our 100th birthday.
I'm excited to be here, Clark.
How long have you been listening to our show?
I can't remember exactly when I started listening, but I can remember it was before Nova 2019.
Right, because we hung out.
Exactly. And I started listening to the show right before then, and then you were like, hey, everyone, I'm going. If you're there, come hang out. And I was like...
and everyone else said no. And so you and I hung out.
Yeah.
Basically what happened.
Yeah.
Which is great.
And now you're a content creator.
Yes.
Lesson learned, don't go near Colin, you'll end up being a content creator.
Yes.
Well, it happens.
There's no evidence. Wait.
So the fact that all of the 40K content creators pretty much are in our Discord is pretty funny. So we're like the podcast for the content creators. That's like what our role is in the community.
I like that. I like it.
Very niche little thing, but we got it.
Yeah.
So
draws an audience.
So Seth, before we talk orcs at LVO, and I presume you're taking orcs.
Yes.
Okay. Good.
Yes.
Because this is going to be really awkward otherwise. So
no, it's Tau.
I appreciate that you're taking orcs. I appreciate that we're going to talk about orcs. But before we do that, I want to talk about 2 Seth life things. First of all, man, good job on signals. What a great thing you're doing there. I don't listen to a lot of podcasts, but I do actually catch signals occasionally, and I really do enjoy it. So, how has that been? Has it been crazy? And where do you want to see it go? Are you going to make some changes?
Yeah, it's been a bit crazy. To give you guys the kicker version of it, when he came to me like February of last year, he was like, I wanna do the show, and then it over time evolved from us doing our own thing into us taking over Signals, and he was like, it'll be 30 minutes a week tops. You'll have to do no work. You'll just show up. And I was like, great. Lies. All lies.
All of that's lies.
Lies. Yeah. So
I get that live from Colin every other week. Like, I don't.
Yeah, we're just going to talk for an hour, but Mitch will be there. That's what I say.
Yes.
Wow. I mean, like, I'm not saying I'm not guilty, but like, I'm not alone.
No, you're not alone.
Too, Colin.
No, but it's been good. I've enjoyed getting to interact with the audience there. It's funny because like I started watching like Frontline Gaming content back when they were in their like tiny little store and you could hear the bus in the background.
Yeah. Like, little days.
So it's been weird to watch it all those years and then be like,
and then they moved on to Pipe Guy, like whatever that was.
There was also Trampoline next door. There was when 8th came out and they were streaming every night, which is how I learned 40K. Is I watched their streams every night. I think it was trampolines next door, or it was some sort of like exercise thing next door that would suddenly get really active in the middle of them trying to stream.
I feel like every time Frontline found a new location, it was Frankie going like, listen, we don't have the room. And he's like, okay, well, we got to find a place with a noisy neighbor. Is there like a batting cage next to a warehouse?
That's a really good Reese impression.
Yeah.
Oh,
I thought he was here.
If you do anything with FLG, you have to learn to do a Reese impersonation.
Well, let's hear your impression, Seth.
Hey everyone, it's me, Reese. Welcome to Signal from the Frontline.
I like that. That's good too.
Did you ever open with that? I think that would be great.
Several times.
He has, yeah.
In fact, last night I did it.
Nice.
It was 2 nights ago. I was possessed by the spirit of Reese for a bit of the episode.
Okay.
It's real hard on the voice though. You can't do it too long.
No,
this is true.
No,
yeah.
It's
I have to, as an LVO judge, when any ruling that has come down from Reese specifically, I have to do in his voice. So
exactly.
That's why I have it. Just like I can pull it out at any.
Well, man, that just makes perfect sense. Okay, so good job on Signals. That's great.
Thank you.
And you're also doing the Mad Dog YouTube still.
Yeah. I've it definitely slowed down. This is like for me my really busy time of year at work. So it's been difficult to do that and like prep the army for LVO and like Signals I can't just be like, hey Signals, I'm gonna like deuces for a week or two. So it got put on the back burner for a good chunk of January, but I did get a video out today. So I'm back to creating content there. I'm trying to shift it a little bit in terms of the focus of the channel because let's be honest, like there's plenty of guys out there that do really good competitive content. And me just talking about what's going on competitively with Oryx week after week after week, eventually is going to run stale. But I'm trying to more focus on the narrative of a player that goes to events a lot.
Okay.
So that's what I'm trying to get into now. So
I think
it's
that's
a little bit
totally
more creative.
Like that's a really great path to pursue. Like that is.
You don't say. It's almost like we have a 100-episode podcast that started because of doing that.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, but no, I'm just saying. Like, I think that. Well, I think the difference there is Seth is talking about trying to like round out the perspective, is what I'm hearing. Like you're trying to fill in the gaps so that like it's that whole experience of like playing this faction, trying to pursue doing well in these events, and that is a really fulfilling thing to watch. Like it gives people that. Like, we all have friends who play 40K. That doesn't mean we have friends who play 40K in the same faction or style that we enjoy.
Yeah.
And so being able to find that person who's creating that content with the same enthusiasm that you feel for your army is always like a really cool and special connection with your audience.
Yep.
I think particularly for me, there are very few other like video podcasts where I can sit and be like, no, you're wrong because I think so. And we have great arguments when you're, doing your video, and you're not there.
Oh, good. I'm glad.
it's
I'm
great.
glad it's engaging.
Okay. So now what's going to happen is that Chuck's going to interview Seth about orcs at LVO while I go grab some water. And then we're gonna do just a little bit of lightning round for Seth, and then we'll turn Seth into a McDougal.
Ooh, that's quite the transformation.
That's even more of a transformation than Adam Camilleri into you, I think.
Oh, I have a retort to the Adam Camilleri fighting people question, because yesterday on the Thursday show he had a different answer.
Okay.
When asked if there was a rumble between each of the Frontline Gaming shows, how would they do as a Thursday show? He identified that in his own words, and he messaged me this morning to be like, you should go watch that portion of the segment, that it would be the 3 hosts of Thursday show versus me. And if they could overcome me, then they could overcome the rest of the network. But it would have to be a 3-on-1 scenario.
Well,
so
I know
he
that
was very bold to say he could just take me by himself.
Okay. Well, Danny has spent a bunch of time considering what he would do in a fight with different kinds of animals. Mm-hmm. So I feel like
I
mean, okay,
Let's
whatever.
not cast stones at people's hobbies.
Let's talk orcs.
Yes.
Chuck, take it away.
All right. So if you were going to make an LVO list that embodied brutal and cunning, what would it be?
I may have already made that list.
I know, I watched it this morning. It's good leading,
Yes. No, it is. So yeah, I think right now, and I did write this list with a little bit of foresight, knowing that we were likely to see a mono-faction or sub-faction change coming. And I've played there is a Anthony Vanilla is like a horrible gateway drug into more competitive 40K. He's got me involved into this Discord server that's basically like every night it's back alley knife fights at 40K. So I've had lots of reps into some very quality opponents. And I originally was thinking Evil Sons, but they just don't hit hard enough with as much things that have damage mitigation anymore. You just need to hit a little harder. So I ended up deciding, let's go with Goffs. And then messing around with Goffs, it was like, man, we really just need something that just punches people into outer space and provides some buff for the army. And TJ Lanigan pops up. He's like, well, why not run Ghazi? And I was like, oh, no, I'm horrible with Ghazi. And he was like, well, get better then. And I was like, huh.
That's a very good answer.
Fair point. Yes. So so they built the list around Ghazi. And essentially the list is Ghazi in a Supreme Command. And then in a Goff battalion, Zagstruck, because he's an amazing choice for his points. I mean, last night in a game against Custodes, he killed 4 wardens and like 3 custodian guards before he went down. Like he's just like flying around beating things up.
He's like a sign that you're playing against an experienced orc player. If he's in there without Storm Boys, that's because that person has learned that this guy is like points to body and weapons. He's not correct.
He's not, as well as he has essentially a War Boss combat profile without the War Boss keyword, which is really important. So you got him. I take a War Boss on Warbike with the Killer Claw and Brutal but Cunning because it's a great combo and you can just rocket him into things that you don't want to be alive anymore. Yesterday he accounted for the new Custode, Terminator, Captain, and Trajan. So he made a good. But he made a good showing of himself. And then I ended up putting Makari in the list. And the reason I put Makari in the list is if you have Makari within 3 inches of Gazgal, he gives it off a 3-inch aura of Feel No Pain that affects everything that's Goffs. Mm-hmm. Which isn't usually that important, except I'm running 3 kill rigs. And so 2 kill rigs, Gazgal, and Makari form a little bubble that just goes right up the field. And now I have T8, 16 wounds, 3 up armor, 6 up invul, and 6 up Feel No Pain, ramshackle vehicles coming at you. And it is annoying enough with that 16 wound profile that I'm probably going to start shaving some of your damage off and just start messing with how much you've got to put in to bring those rigs down. Kill rigs for 190 points are fantastic. I still think they're going to be totally viable at 210 because they just do so much. Their psychic powers are usually like kind of a throwaway thing half the time. You're just like, I'm just trying to cast this to get my Whir Tower to get extra shots, but you end up chipping Mortal Wounds off some stuff, and then you're going, oh, okay. And then I like running Roar of Mork on him, so you can be like, for instance, yesterday, there was a unit of Custodian Guard that was very far back, and I was like, well, I don't want them involved in the game just yet, so I'm going to make sure they're -2 to their advance and charge. Or you can use the Ground Shaker strat to be like half movement and -2 advance and charge. So you can just be like, I don't want to deal with that right now. Go sit over there in timeout until we decide that we're ready to face you.
I love that, and then being able to sort of charge away.
Yeah.
Like sort of position yourself between the two of them and be like, you're slow, and now I'm going this way.
Particularly in like Dawn of War, where you can move laterally and just get a lot of space between you and them, and just be like, all right, you stay over there. I don't care about you anymore. And the kill rigs, I've shoved 30 Beast Snaggle Boys because you need to have them in there. So when they pop the rig, you're like, I still have more fighting crap. And then probably my favorite part of the list, which is the saddest thing in the list right now, I have 30 commandos in it, which basically turns into me putting 30 commandos 9 inches away from your deployment zone, being like, if I go first, we're going to fuck you up. And if I go second, you get to kill commandos. And it usually ends up being that someone kills 20-ish commandos, and that's not great, but it also means their first turn was spent fighting commandos, while the rigs and Ghazi and the characters move forward.
They're like WAS bombs, but on foot. This is here, you're going to kill it, or I'm going to kill you with it, so it forces you, and then we'll do it from there.
Yeah, and they're also just, for like some of the missions where you have sticky objectives, if you go first and you're like, hey, I was on all the objectives at the beginning of the game, they're all mine now, run forward. They're great for that. Yeah, you can do a bunch of actions if you have an action-based mission or secondary with them early on in the game, and just basically force, like, if you're not gonna charge into them, just be like, hey. And there's been games where I've done particularly scouring. We've been playing a lot of scouring in the practice because that's the thing that we usually don't play, but it's like you're going to have to play it this weekend. They are hilarious at scouring, because if I go first and you just have like a combat army like Drukhari that I don't really want to charge, I'm just like, cool. So my commandos are on the forward 3 objectives. My Storm Boys, which I have 3 units of 5 Storm Boys, are flying to the back 2 objectives, and I'm strategic scanning every objective this turn. You have to kill all those units, or I'm getting a pile of points. Thank you. So that's the list I've come up with. I think kill rigs work in the FLG terrain because they make it so you have to have a gap wide enough for knights bases, which is what they're on. But in some of the more dense terrain setups out there, like WTC is very dense. The Warzone Atlanta stuff is really dense. If you play on stuff like that, it's a lot harder to maneuver them around. I've played them on the GW terrain too, and also had some trouble moving them around at times, just because it can get really congested and really traffic jammy.
Yeah, if I'm a player placed, it's a lot easier because you can kind of build your own channel. You're like, this is where I'll be launching kill rigs from. But yeah, you can get dicey and other things.
Have we covered orcs thoroughly, or where are we at on that? I just had to step away, but we have 9 minutes left, and I know Seth wants to be lightning rounded.
Well, basically that is the golf list that Adam was referencing, is just what if I had a ton of crap that I threw at you and it all was very good in combat. There are some freebooters still floating around. There are still people trying to make that work. Most of them are working out of the speed mob. The speed mob is a really, really good list now. I've somewhere between 10 and 15 DEFCOPTers seems to be, the norm. And it doesn't necessarily have the ridiculous ballistic skill that you were seeing with freebooters, but it's the fact that those DEFCOPTers can basically be uninteractable for the majority of the game that really messes with people.
Yeah, I've had a lot of success with it. It's been a lot of fun to play with.
Yeah.
It does have a secondary problem, but new missions look like they might be fixing some of that some. So.
Exactly. I'm excited for that. So that's my next project. I have all the DEFCOPTers like just hanging out waiting to hit the paint table, so I got to get going on that. But that, I think, covers most of what you're going to see at Orcs at LVO. In terms of, I want to cross my fingers and say they'll crack into that top 8, but I think that's pretty much riding all on the broad shoulders of one Mark Perry.
I'm hoping. That'd be great.
All right, are we ready for some lightning round?
Fast as can be.
how common are office romances in your line of work? Maybe you should start with what your line of work is for the people that don't know you that
So
well.
I'm a veterinarian, and specifically I teach at Auburn University in exotic medicine. I wouldn't say office romances are super common, but there are a boatload of people that we hire that are basically already married, and then we hire their spouse.
Okay.
So like me and my wife both work in the college. I can think of probably a half dozen veterinarians that it's like husband and wife work at the college, so that's pretty common. Despite that, my original like mentor when I was young, basically was like when I was going to college, him and his wife were vets and owned a practice together, and he was like, Seth, don't marry a vet. He's like, you don't want that. You don't want to have to come home and talk about work. So yeah, I mean, it is actually pretty common.
All right.
I have not experienced that.
It says, will the Shrek jokes ever get old? I don't know what that's
Never.
about.
Never. So the joke started on Signals that Kicker and I wanted to do characters of ourselves and we get stickers made, and then chat suggested Shrek and Donkey.
Okay, that sounds like facts.
Yes, which I then did commission an artist for, and we have stickers that I will be giving away at LVO.
Can't wait to get some.
I'm just going to presume it was Goat Boy because he draws like everything.
No, there's an artist I use on Fiverr.
Okay.
He did good work. I'll send you a sample of it. But
fine.
anyway, the entertaining part being that's not the first time I've been called Shrek in my life. When I started dating my wife, her roommates would often refer to us as Shrek and Fiona.
Okay.
So no, it's just it's what I am at this point. I might as well be Shrek. I don't have the ears.
Or
Not yet.
You're also not green. I don't know why we're listing things that. You are just a big orc, though. So
Yeah, it's true.
yeah. How much hot sauce are you using post Charity Hammer?
I have definitely, I took a nice little hiatus there post Charity Hammer, but I'm back to using a good little collection. Like Secret Avocado is kind of like my day-to-day driver.
You were not pleased the morning after the hot sauce.
I was not. I got to build up my intestinal fortitude.
There was one point where you looked at me and said, "I'm a moron."
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay.
Well, there
I
was
don't know
like
who
one
asked that
point.
question, but that's my favorite viewer of the day.
That was Jason who asked that question, and that was
Nice.
because I do believe at one point during like one of the streams that I was stream hosting that day, I looked at him and I was like, "Can you hop on and cover for a minute?" He's like, "Why?" And I'm like, "I have to go to the bathroom right now."
Yeah. And John was in there waiting for you too, so that wasn't good.
Yes.
Just to go back to the John following people into the bathrooms meme that started before Charity Hammer. All right. Okay, cool. All right. So, questions. Let's see here. What is the best kind of mac and cheese?
Bacon.
Oh, okay.
You got to put bacon in it, and no matter what. Then the rest is just like cool side dish to the bacon.
I think that since America feels that bacon makes everything better, I think that's a pretty good take. I think people are going to accept that. Certainly more than the hatred on our Discord against some of us that use ranch. Everybody hates.
Wait, ranch on mac and cheese?
No, just ranch in general. I'm
I'm
constantly
very
mocked for being a
pro-ranch.
supporter of ranch on the
I'm very
Discord.
pro ranch, but I'll draw the line at ranch on mac and cheese.
No, it does not go on mac and cheese. That's accurate.
What would you draw that line with?
Ranch,
ranch.
soy sauce.
And then no
Weird,
one will
like-
cross it.
Yeah,
Garlic
then I can't
aioli.
cross it. Okay. What kind of bird is the biggest jerk? I think they're asking for breed. First, let's ask a different question first. I know that I've read that cats have less personality determined by breed than dogs do. And I don't know if that's true, but I've read that.
Yeah.
How much is personality determined by bird breed?
There's a good amount of it. In terms of like the bird that I just never get along with, like just 100%
That's all
never
of them?
clicked with African gray parrots. African gray parrots always look at me and they're like, "I'm gonna fuck you up today," and I'm like, "Great, awesome." There's like one that I've seen in 10 years of practice that was like, it doesn't like me, but it's like I know that if I just behave, he'll examine me and I'll be done, and then I can leave.
I also I actually have a traumatic experience from childhood with an African gray. Yeah.
Every other
Of course
bird,
you
I
do,
can get 'em-
Mitch.
I can get to behave like big angry eagles, macaws, whatever. I'm like, yeah, you sound big and angry, but I'm bigger and angrier, so it's fine. African gray parrots are never like,
someone
I
suggested
submit
to me.
your largeness, sir.
Someone suggested to me that we do one of those, like, you know how they do on YouTube, like the doctors react and they watch the medical shows. They said we should watch Peacemaker and have you talk about the realism of Eagly, the sidekick. And I'm like, it's
really
literally a
wanted to start
computer
watching
animated
that.
bird.
Yeah, I very much want to start watching that show, but it's on the queue of shows that my wife has claimed as our shows, and we have not got to watch that yet.
It is kind of amazing. I'm going to be
Yeah.
honest.
I mean, I
don't
very
know
much
if I would
enjoyed
put kinda
Peacemaker
in
yeah, I enjoyed Peacemaker in Suicide Squad, so
oh, well, then you'll love
if
it.
yeah, if it's more of that, then
It's
I'm in.
actually fairly
It's
amazing
more-
how much John Cena's charm can carry a show. It's pretty surprising. And of course, in my house, John Cena is a verb because that's how the young people use his name, and it does not make sense to me. You can John Cena someone. That's a completely
From
appropriate
League of Legends.
sentence.
Yeah.
Oh, it's from League of Legends?
Yeah.
Why
It's a meme.
is John Cena in League of Legends and I've missed that somehow?
Are we about to get
it's a
education?
bit from a guy getting ganked and it plays a guy yelling John Cena in the background at the same time, and
Okay.
it's just a whole thing.
I would
Is it
make
like
fun
John
of that,
Cena
but I
came
did
out of
laugh
nowhere?
at I would make fun of that, but I did laugh at the Leroy Jenkins stuff for a long time. So it's just a different generation.
Very much that.
So good.
Yeah. Well, Seth, do you know where my shelf is?
I have been sworn to secrecy, and I cannot reveal. No, I have no idea where it is.
Excellent.
I was actually really intrigued when you sent the glue picture the other day, and I was like, I wonder if the glue and the shelf are connected. like, was there a mishap with the glue, and the shelf got like stuck to the hands, and then
Is the
someone's
shelf
trying
like
to run
stuck
out
to the back of a wall somewhere that I'm
Yeah,
not seeing?
like I'm just like maybe there's a connection here.
It's that plasma TV in your garage. It's glued to the back of that.
Yeah, exactly. That's true. I haven't looked back there.
Yeah.
I have. That's
Or
somewhere
like
I've
under
not
a
checked.
coffee table or something like that. you
I'm
know?
actually, now when we're done with the podcast tonight, going to go out there and look behind that television because if the shelf is back there, the show is ruined forever because I will never trust Mitch again. Like that
is a very specific.
Yeah.
What if it's glued to this TV
Yeah.
in this area of the house behind
Well,
it?
I
you know?
assume that
What
the
if
place
it's
where
in
the
this
glue-
exact place covered in this particular material? Like what? This is very, very specific.
No. I assume that the glue from the picture was in the garage on that same stand.
Yeah, we understand, Mitch. I appreciate you helping me with where it is.
He's just trying to form a defense now. That's
Yeah.
all
Yeah,
I
that's
am.
going on here.
I am. I don't know where the joke stopped and the accusations begin, so I got to start somewhere.
Sometimes accusations are the best kinds of jokes. I heard that somewhere.
That's fair.
All right, so Seth,
You would think so.
Will you
Yes.
come to Charity Hammer in the summer?
Yes, barring work schedules, I should be able to make it.
Well, you're one of the two people that asked me for a date that I didn't respond to. So if that ends up being a problem, well, then that's on me.
Yeah, I mean, I've already had to lock in my work schedule. It just might be that last year I very much enjoyed it, but I got like very little sleep, and then had to go to work with very little sleep when I got back. And like I got back from that, I was like, man, next year I'm taking like 3 days off after this thing to recover, and I had like my work schedule I have to set for like a year and a half in advance when I'm going to have students, and I really can't take off 3 days just to sleep. So it just might be that I end up being like really grouchy when I get home for a week.
I might take the entire week after Charity Hammer off. This last year, it completely ruined me.
Yeah.
Like, especially because of COVID and how little of that sort of stuff I do. It was much more exhausting than it had ever been before for me. Anywho, we are late to Alex, so thank you so much, Seth. We adore you. Thanks for doing everything you do for the community, and we'll have you back on soon.
I appreciate everything you guys do. Have a good evening.
All right, bye-bye now.
Keep killing it, man. You're doing a great job.
Yeah, that's right. Okay, so he's gone. Now let's go sit Alex in.
Finally. Oh. What else we got?
God, I wish we had good friends to have on the show.
Right? Well, these guys will do.
There's two Alex McDougals. We haven't had Alex McDougall on in a year. That's what Skype's telling me.
That makes sense considering that there hasn't been like a super intense meta. Like we haven't covered the new NIDS stuff released early yet.
Hello?
I wouldn't even worry about NIDS right now.
Skype says you haven't been on the show in a year, Alex, but nobody can hear you. So give me just a second to add you in, and then we'll talk about.
But we see you. Can we hear you?
We can probably hear.
Maybe.
Him, but
Yeah,
We can hear you.
Oh, yeah. That's wonderful.
this is going to be so great. Everybody else has been talking about Tyranids. I don't know if you've been listening to the show.
I have been in and out of the show, yes.
Yeah.
Everyone's trying to spoil all the Tyranid conversation so you don't have anything. We stopped them.
How come Alex doesn't have his name?
I'm mysterious.
He's Sid 5EAD blah 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 blah. Let's see if that's right. Oh no, that's Mitch. Now we have two Mitches. Mitch, please.
Double Mitch.
Yeah, that's too much.
Sometimes one Mitch is plenty.
Sometimes one Mitch is too much.
Oh wait, there's a combat Chuck in here and a Zegamus in here.
A combat check?
Combat check is me. Zagamus.
Well, that is deeply confusing. That's just I've been podcasting for 2.5 hours, Alex. How do you want me to even handle
I
that?
didn't know you were
I am
another evolution. Which one comes first?
Glad to be unhelpful.
Yeah,
Imagine my level of confusion.
Do you
the
have
existence
to
of
hold
a combat check suggests that I do not have combat.
You after
It suggests that you're pacifism, Chuck.
Yeah, I guess, which is not the greatest place to be in a show about a war game. I don't
That's
know.
like the worst Chuck possible. Okay. Wow. All right. So, hi, Alex.
Hi.
We were discussing who's been on the show the most, and I think you at least have to be in the top 5.
Oh, easy.
I would think so.
Yeah. So, thank you for that. And of course, we talk all the time because there's Tyranids and GSC to talk about right now.
Mm-hmm. It has been an exciting 5 or so months.
Yes.
For
So
Tyranids and
you
GSC.
are going to LVO.
Yes.
Which is exciting. And you are taking forces.
Yes.
And you are going to defeat Tyler Bortel and be the best forces of the Hivemind player, correct?
That is the plan, yes.
Okay. Is there
I hope
anyone
that
that can win it
stress
other than
doesn't-
Tyler Bortel and yourself?
John's out, Manny's out. There's some of the people that kind of had really high scores with lesser tournaments, less quantity of tournaments. I can't remember if Schultz is going to be there, Josh Schultz, because he's 100 points behind. So
I
we'd
think
have to
Tyler said
fill it.
no. I think Tyler said he's not going to be there.
Yeah. Yeah, so
Okay.
it's probably just between me and Tyler.
Well, that's exciting. And what's really great is you not only do you know each other's lists, but you helped each other with each other's lists. So that's
Our lists are extremely similar.
yes, it's true.
We're 100 points different from each other.
That's great. Okay, so we have about 25 minutes with you, Alex, and what I'd like to do is talk about the meta directions that people are going to see at LVO for forces. So I'd like to talk about forces together, Crusher Stampede, and Mono GSC. Those are the 3 things I'd like to talk about.
All in 25 minutes. Let's go.
Yeah, let's do it. So let's start with, what do you think is the worst of those 3 competitively?
I would say Crusher.
Okay. So what is Crusher, briefly? People probably know what it is. They won a bunch of stuff, but
Yeah, Crusher Stampede.
but super
is,
beefy. Super short.
Yeah, it's basically a set of 3 pages of rules that came out in a White Dwarf Meg. It gives monstrous creatures in Tyranids a 5+ invulnerable save and -1 damage, which obviously is fantastic. Its only issue is that you are not allowed to take anything with 1 wound, so it is trash at playing the mission.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it's one of those.
What will people have?
lists.
What will people see in a Crusher Stampede list?
The
Hive
monsters
Guard,
that are already good.
big monsters.
Yeah, Hive Guard in Leviathan, because you can still be Leviathan and use all the Octaria stuff, which is actually probably the only reason this list works at all.
Yes. It needs the shooting.
It needs some shooting, and it needs the very key stratagem to turn one of your monsters a turn into objective secured. Without that, I don't think you ever win anything.
Okay.
But I mean, it's a good list. I would still put it in A tier, pretty easily. And it definitely just like gifts you some wins. Like, oh, can your opponent not kill like 80 wounds of T7 with a 5+ invulnerable save at -1 damage? I guess you win.
That's great.
Or is able to outplay you. But I imagine Crusher Stampede might have 1 5-1 and a lot of like 3, 3, 4, and 2.
Because it's going to lose to what, Alex?
It's going to lose to the Forces list. It does not like the Forces list. It doesn't like anybody who goes really wide on infantry. I just can't really kill them fast enough, or anything that can move block.
Like hundreds of racks we talked about earlier.
Hundreds of racks, Vanny's list. It wants nothing to do with an army of infinite 1 damage attacks.
Yeah.
Which is the Forces list. There's a couple other lists that it probably won't particularly like. It would normally like Custodes, except that Custodes, GW decided to shore up their 1 weakness in Emperor's Chosen by giving them all a 4+ invulnerable save, or 4+ save against mortal wounds, which means that breaking through stratagem is not as good anymore. But yeah, it's still a good list. Okay. It's just not what interests me.
So now we're going to talk about mono GSC, I'm guessing.
Yes.
Okay, so now I want to give you a caveat so the internet doesn't roast you. We have no idea what people are taking for GSC or forces to LVO. There could be a GSC list that we don't know about that is completely game breaking. We have no idea. All we can do is talk about what John and Tyler and Alex and I and our friends are talking about for Tyranids. And GSC. We don't know more than that. The army rules are too new. So. Best guess, Alex. So, what will we see from Mono GSC that'll be the most formidable? You don't have to give us every variant.
Before we get there, can I ask? I just had one quick base question for Alex. Just with this new codex as arguably one of the you're certainly one of the top minds in the hive mind, so to speak. How do you rate the GSC codex, both as forces of the hive mind and mono, like in the Pack Plus, S tier, or whatever ranking system you want to use? But like, where do you feel it lands at currently? Before obviously having a lot of data to come in, to inform the meta.
I think pure GSC is like a high A. It is very strong. It's very good internally balanced. It's very good externally balanced. I don't think it's broken, but it's definitely still one of those like very tricky codexes. So the personal results may vary highly based on the skill of the player.
Sure.
It is very movement based. It is very not gotchas, but it's got a lot of like, oh, this squad disappeared. Like, oh, this one came out of nowhere. That can really disrupt someone's plan. People might forget that you can show up within 6 inches and suddenly lose an objective.
You have to know how to trade. You have to know how to trade to play GSC.
Yeah, it's a very demanding army, but it is very good. And there might be something that we haven't seen yet, but I think we've got a general framework of what most GSC lists will look like, and then we've just got to figure it out from there. There's a couple different variants. I think there is a truck-heavy, like rock grinder heavy, maybe poppers, where your rock grinders are hitting on 2s. You can get the invulnerable save relic up. Something that hits very efficiently and will trade very efficiently without the use of much support or CP. There is a bike list, which I don't think many people will be running because it's extremely expensive, but it is very strong. That's probably what I'll be playing in the new year because it also just appeals to me. The dirt bikes are my favorite models, and
they're so cool.
That army is just a blast to play. I've played it once on TTS just to like give myself a feel for it. And then we also might go super heavy, just neophyte horde spam. Just welcome to Shotgun Horde.
Okay, so let's skip the what is it going to struggle against because it's just such a new rule set. I think it's a better use of your time to talk about forces because that's where all of your time is being spent because you're trying to win best forces. Also, I've not been engaged enough to have an opinion, but Tyler, John, and you all said to me that forces is just better than GSC. Like.
I believe so.
Yeah. I have a dog problem. I have to step away, but if you could talk about forces, that'd be just great.
Absolutely.
So, real quick on forces, would you rank forces at you had Pack Plus for GSC, so forces is S tier then?
I think so. I think it's one of the top.
Cool. So yeah, go back into that. I just wanted to
lists in the game
for classifications. Yeah, awesome.
The thing that basically controls why Forces is better than GSC is that Forces still has access to Hive Guard. The Hive Guard are just kind of nuts. They're the shooting at range that GSC wants that doesn't have to show its face. The GSC shooting is quite strong, but the GSC shooting that is strong has to be like in the mix, being able to be interacted with. One of the things that's so strong about this new forces list is that all of the pressure and combat that you were getting from forces beforehand was also CP intensive, and now it's just not. So you could, like, before we always had this discussion of like, you only shoot your Hive Guard if you like need to take pressure off right away, or you're about to like swing a primary, like there's something behind a wall that you can't get to, the Hive Guard gets to like make that trade for you. Suddenly they get a 5, you get a 15. Like that's a reason to shoot the Hive Guard twice. Now, man, you can potentially be shooting your Hive Guard twice a lot more, because the GSC faction just doesn't use your CP, like the stuff that we've made. The GSC list that we've got is double Pure Strain, Patriarch, Truck, Acolytes with drills, 2 Naked Acolyte units, and a Keller Morph. So you use like 1 for Advanced 6 automatically. You maybe use 1 for just Consciousness, so you get an infinite range buff spell. Every once in a while, you use 1 for going back to the Return to Shadows. Not really a whole lot else. Everything else is pretty self-sufficient. You're purchasing all of your upgrades with like a Trap Sprung and Time is Nigh, like pre-game move stuff. You don't really need to use a lot more. So you can really just feed everything to the Hive Guard. And that list still has the Neurothrope Relic. Not Neurothrope Relic, but the Relic.
Yeah, the Neurothrope Relic. That's fine.
It's pretty much him, which is just regenerating CP.
Yeah.
So if you have...
You're starting with about 9?
8. 9, so you lose 2 for the patrol, 1 for adaptive physiology, and 1 for a second warlord trait.
So you could easily end up spending 10 on Hive Guard if you wanted.
I would say 6.
But that would be rough, yeah. But like still, that's a lot more than 2.
Well, and more importantly, it imparts the flexibility on the list where if the Hive Guard are what you need to lean on, you can be like, cool, everything else can do its job. I can lean on my Hive Guard and not be like choking out the engine of my army somewhere else.
Mm-hmm.
By the way, Tyler says he's starting at 9 CP because adaptive physiology is for nerds. Now Tyler is studying quantum physics or something, quantum computing. So I think he is a nerd. So it's a confusing sentence.
Well, that he knows.
Yeah, takes one to know.
That's very confusing. Okay.
If we play the mirror and we actually play each other, and my Hive Guard just get to laugh at his Hive Guard, yeah, I guess how that goes. I'll sack my 1 CP for that.
That's great. So what do you think? What do you think the forces list is going to have problems with? What matchups are you thinking about?
I mean, there's definitely Custodies where you are on a time limit for how fast you can kill them. I think with certain people, like high name players taking Custodies, you're not going to get like your easy Custodies run over where you might just like, they didn't really know how to play the mission or play the map. There's a lot of like really big names running Custodies, and you might have to struggle with that. Thick City obviously is still everyone's boogeyman right now. I don't think that's quite as bad of a matchup. Again, the army is very much just, here's a bajillion 1 damage attacks. So a lot of the -1 damage just doesn't matter for them.
Mm-hmm.
But it's still just one of the strongest lists in the game.
Mm-hmm.
Doesn't care about Marines. Grey Knights still have a good amount of mobility. The bikes from GSC, the new bikes, help a lot with going second against Grey Knights.
Right.
They're shunting guys in, can just screw off with the bikes doing a pregame move.
Mm-hmm.
But again, GK are still very strong. Other than that, I don't see them struggling with a whole lot, unless somebody brings out some magic that we just haven't seen. But honestly, at LVO, unless you're playing Leviathan, that doesn't really happen.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Most things coming into the meta are kind of like a known quantity.
Yeah.
Nobody was shocked when Brandon Grant won with Castellan and Alex Harrison came second with 6 Eldar Flyers.
No, it's like, yeah, okay. That sounds right.
Yeah, that's what I expected.
Yeah. What do you think? What do you think some other versions of NIDS and GSC we might see might be like? Do you think we'll see any Hierophants?
Yeah, maybe a Hierophant or so. A couple Harridans, which I don't know if that's showing up in forces, but that's more of like a Crusher Stampede
I
thing.
don't know that there'll be. I'm sure that LVO will actually make people play by their rules. So I'm not sure that we'll see that.
Which is
Indeed.
a huge issue for people that don't know.
Yeah. Well, Well, if they've been sending in models and different questions and all that stuff, they will know. If they haven't, then
Well,
that's
it does not fit.
Rude Awakening.
There's no way.
Yeah.
And
People
there's
planning for their
uh,
rules
yeah.
ahead of time at LVO? Come on. That never happens.
Well, I'm just saying that the LVO judges staff is very clear that it doesn't get to move first turn.
Yeah.
Done.
It says Malik is.
Just
Bortel says Malik is taking a Harridan fully aware of the consequences. Well, then I think Malik is not going to do well at LVO. It is simply not a good model. I've played with it a bunch. Like it's fine.
No, Collins put the work in. I back him on this one.
Yeah, I mean, it's
if he
slightly
says it, it's
better.
true.
If it's a Crusher Stampede, I mean, it's probably better in Crusher Stampede because
Oh,
it's
it's
even
great,
more impossible to kill. But it doesn't do enough for its points. It doesn't hold things in combat. So you
Doesn't hold
can't
objectives.
you can't tag things. It doesn't hold objectives. It can't do missions. Like, okay, whatever.
Yep.
It doesn't get to act on the first turn of Dawn of War.
Which you're playing all 9 missions if you're going the distance. Like,
So you're getting that 3 times,
yeah,
including on the 3rd day?
yeah,
Yeah.
Nice. Yeah, that's just ridiculous.
yeah. I don't think it.
Now,
I don't think
where did we end up on? Does the Hierophant fit in the deployment in Dawn of War?
If you model for advantage, yes, it fits.
Because John and Bortel were assembling them at the same time and had different answers.
Yeah. If you do the natural position, because the Forge World models, the ball joints are still sort of set up to be put in like a certain way. You've put together the Demakaran, like it has a ball joint, but it really does like sink in to a certain like path on the little T-Rex arms. The Hierophant, I don't really think it should fit, but you can kind of like pivot it inwards so its toes tuck in and you get like just under 10 inches.
Sounds legit to me.
Now, Tyler, get out of here. You modeled for advantage.
Ooh, that's some shade.
Strong words.
Okay, so let's do some lightning round for Alex.
Yeah,
Lightning round.
ready.
How tired are your Hive Guard's arms from holding up your entire army?
Oh man, I literally have a picture on my phone of Atlas. And that's how I describe Hive Guard to people. It's Atlas carrying the world on his back.
But
Gotta
they're not
model 'em with some
actually.
back braces.
But they're not actually the most broken Tyranid thing. We've talked about this.
Not anymore. They are the most frustrating, though. I think they're the thing that people don't know how to play around. Like
They're
the
the most uninteractive.
Yeah, the thing that's actually the most dangerous. Oh, I shouldn't even say it. You guys shouldn't know.
We already said it.
I already said it.
It's the Devour Gaunts. The Devour Gaunts are the thing that just absolutely blow people up. But people go and look at it and go like, well, it's T3 models. I can kill those. I can get those. But they are the ones doing the most damage. But by turn 5, when the Hive Guard are just like sitting back there having taken 0 damage, yeah, people are ready to like pull their hair out.
Right.
Yeah, it's the uninteractivity that makes them frustrating for sure. I've definitely built entire lists that are bent around, hey, look, if I go first, there are no Hive Guard left. I don't care how many you have. I don't care what you're doing. Like they're like, and in a pre new GSC and Custodes and the stuff we're seeing with Eldar and stuff, meta, like before that made sense. Now it's going to be more diverse, which hopefully forces people to have to make decisions, and lists have inherent weaknesses, but we'll see.
I think Hive Guard going back up to 50 was the right call.
Yeah.
Oh,
It
definitely.
means that people will still take 6. They're still good at 300 points, but nobody's taking 18 anymore or anything like that, because that's 900 points of your army, and you just don't get to play the game anymore.
And I bet they'll just go. I bet they'll just be gone. I just don't think. I don't know. Like who knows? There's no Tyranid. There's no Tyranid previews, but I think that I just don't see any reason that they'd leave them the way they are now in the new book. I just don't see that.
No, I think they'll be dealt with.
Yeah.
Hopefully.
How sad are you that Swarmlord's not in your LVO list?
I am a little disappointed. Swarmlord is also, Atlas's right hand.
Yeah.
And has done a ton of work for me, but it just doesn't make any sense anymore.
Yeah.
The Leviathan Stealers are like moderately faster than the pre-game move Pure Strain Gene Stealers. And the Pure Strain Gene Stealers with the Twisted Helix spell basically have the same output as like everything except like Relentless Flurry Gene Stealers in Leviathan, and you don't have to pay 2 CP for it, and you don't have to have it backed by Stormlord. Stormlord becomes a 10-point upgrade. Sorry, 15-point upgrade.
Okay. All
And-
right.
Tyler,
Next.
I have no regrets that I don't have a Hive Tyrant on my list. Because I have Kellermorph. And what I lose in TTS or to the last, I will make up for in primary when I'm literally robbing people out of Deep Strike.
What's the best choice for mac and cheese?
The best choice for mac and cheese?
Yeah.
Mac and cheese on a hot dog.
Okay.
Like a mac and cheese dog.
Is that a Canadian
best.
thing?
It's a weird invention that it probably exists somewhere else, but there was a hot dog joint in my town, like, I don't know, 5 or 6 years ago. And it was always like, you get your full-size dog of whatever you wanted. And then there was a kids menu, and it was like a 3/4 size hot dog with mac and cheese on it, but they charged like $2.50 for it. So I was like, real dog and kids dog with the mac and cheese. And it's just the best way to have mac and cheese now.
All right. I think that's great. Alex, do you know where my shelf is?
No.
Okay.
Wait, which one? Like your model shelf?
You don't know about the missing shelf?
No, I don't pay attention.
This is great.
I mean, to be fair, he's clearly demonstrated that it checks out. Like, actually, like his shit lines up, man. Like, alibi is good.
It's certainly better than your
Still
go to this. It's certainly better than your hypothesis of go to this place and look.
Yeah.
So
I mean, I guess
so
the
Alex,
place that you had
to let
looked-
you in on the joke, there is a shelf missing from a closet in the downstairs of my house that went missing during Charity Hammer.
An entire shelf.
Yeah, like somebody
Yeah.
took a piece of wood that was like cut to fit into the braces, and they took it away, and it's gone. And we've looked thoroughly for it. And so the ongoing joke is we're asking everyone on the show if they know where the shelf is, because
No. See, now that you've told me, I remember this story,
Okay.
but I've already tuned it out from the last time you told me.
Yeah.
I've been in your house since Charity Hammer.
That's true. Oh, I should look to see if he returned the shelf, because that would be the real way to mess with me. Would be for someone to come back and put the shelf back, and then be like, "Colin, you told us this shelf wasn't here."
Yeah.
That'd be
That
great.
would-
Next Charity Hammer's just back.
Yeah.
the gaslighting of Colin with the shelf being returned, like, would be amazing.
I think the
Yeah.
best gaslighting would be if it was back through Charity Hammer, and then the day after Charity Hammer, when I'm cleaning, it's gone again.
Gone.
Yeah.
Or some other shelf is gone.
Yeah.
It's in his quantum state of like whether you're observing it or not.
Yeah. All right, Alex. We appreciate you, and you did a great job, and we appreciate you, and we appreciate you coming on the show and being so supportive. I presume that we can count on you for Charity Hammer this summer.
Oh yeah, of course.
You can drive here, so it's like super
I can
easy.
drive there. That's right.
Yeah. And I moved an hour closer to Alex, which was really me doing him a solid, because I lived
Yeah.
really far from him before.
I mean, it's a good move for you too. Let's be fair.
Well, it was specifically
there's a
for
benefit
Alex.
both ways.
It was
Yeah.
specifically
Yeah.
for Alex. We spent a lot of time
Oh.
thinking about how it affected Alex in specifics.
And I've got my third vaccine as of 5 hours ago. So
Nice.
any restrictions they throw up, I should be fine.
Yep.
Have fun tomorrow.
I'm already Advilled up.
Yeah.
I took your advice.
I
Colin.
didn't have anything. I didn't feel bad, but my arm did hurt for a couple days.
Mhm.
It was not great.
My
All right.
wife's gonna get smacked. She got it pretty bad last time too. She was sore and achy, and it's already coming.
Fair enough. All right. Well, we appreciate you, and we will talk to you soon.
See you later.
Bye. We might not have a Danny.
What?
I don't.
I
Cancel
can
the
lie about
podcast.
monoliths.
Yeah. Tell us how good monoliths are.
Okay.
Have a good night,
Say
guys. I'm gonna back
everything
out.
I wanna
Bye.
hear.
Now you're just ruining
I
my
just know it's not true.
whole agenda here.
Oh.
All right. Well,
I just get rid of him.
I think we might have missed out on a Danny. So let's go through the rest of the questions from the lightning round, and then we'll share. Each of us will share our thoughts on 100 episodes, and then we'll call it a day because we've been recording for 3 hours already. So
Let's go.
all right, let's go. Chuck,
Okay.
when are you starting a hobby tutorial series?
Very, very soon.
Good enough. Why do you love turtles?
They're my son's favorite animal, and I have a turtle tattoo planned for my back.
Oh, neat. Is it going to be a turtle serpent from 40K? Because that would be really great.
I might put the slightest little indication of some Eldarness in there
Oh,
just
man.
to honor the turtle serpent.
That would seal our bromance so thoroughly. That would be. I would be touched deeply. I would be okay. All right. Could you make a unit of knobs or spawn out of the MCP Hulk model?
Oh God, yes. Working on the MCP Hulk model, I definitely had a thought of like, could this be a war boss? Because all I got to do is swap that head, and it'd be pretty neat.
I made the opposite observation today, which is this is Hulk, and this is Swarmlord, and they're on the same size base. They're on the same size base, and they're roughly the same size. I think I just play with Swarmlord instead of Hulk now.
He's almost a piece on a Squigosaur.
Yeah. So I might legitimately bring Swarmlord with me tomorrow to the MCP thing we're going to. I'm thinking about it. All right.
A hero.
He is my hero. It's true. Okay, let's see. All right, here we go. Mitch, what do you think is missing from the 40K community right now? What does the 40K community need that it doesn't have?
Oh man.
That's a rough one.
It's an immunity to COVID.
Well, I mean, that would be great. I mean, like, the world
That's a good
could
answer.
use that, though. I mean, it would certainly raise the stock of 40 players, people in like their stock in society. But no, I would say that 40K players need a little bit more perspective. And I say that like I'm not trying to like it. There are lots of people who are frustrated with a lot of different things, and I get that, and it's hard when you're talking about your hobby because it's the place you go to relax. You want it to be fun. You want it to make you feel better, because you're enjoying it and you're having a good time, and that's a totally valid perspective. However, at the same time, there is this other side of trying to manage this huge, system while in the middle of a pandemic with all these different delays. And the thing is Games Workshop already had production delays. Before that, they had inventory problems, they had a ship sink, like there were many catastrophes that went along the way. And I'm not saying that it doesn't make it any less frustrating when rules are delayed or it feels like, it's taken so long for them to get to your faction. But at the same time, it is this game that we go to have fun. And if you're choosing to focus on the things that make you miserable, you're never going to get what you're spending the time and money on this hobby for. And I think that sometimes people mistake commiseration with actually like enjoying what they're doing. And that can just happen because they're frustrated with their life and they're just venting and because their hobby isn't satisfying their that relief that they're hoping for. But at the same time, I think that just if we can all step back and just like look at it, like we have an amazing community. Games Workshop is making strides in a lot of the right directions. There has been a lot of things that are very frustrating about all of that, but there's a lot of good things going on, and we have a whole new version of the competitive scene that's going to be rolling out for this entire year with quarterly updates, and then twice a year, packet updates. Like we're going to be seeing an entirely different meta, and I want people to like just breathe and be like,
lightning
hey,
round question ever.
sorry.
But
I do like that
wonderful.
we're gonna have
But
like a
wonderful,
3
Mitch.
month
But
limit.
that's the thing. Everything you were saying was just incredible, and you're
Well, no, but
absolutely
like
right.
just like breathe and recognize that the
Yeah.
stress isn't from the game. It's just that you came to the game to escape the stress, and that's not necessarily happening the way you wanted it to.
Right, for sure.
And
For sure.
and you can still find fun in that.
Yeah, for sure. That was just a wonderful answer. I don't have anything to add to that. I think Mitch had it great. All right, what else do we got here? Is there a 40K community you're in that you can't bring yourself to leave because it's a glorious train wreck? I don't have one of those.
I don't.
No.
I don't hang around for train wrecks.
No. That's not really us at all. Oh, there's a question for me. It says, how do you recommend to deal with indecisiveness, self-doubt at an event? I find that my initial gut is usually right. And so the mental math I try to go through is, do I have enough data to convince myself that my initial plan is wrong, rather than which plan is best? And I think that there's a nuance there that is trusting in yourself. So we've tried to talk about this, and I'm trying to get better at talking about this. A lot of my 40K skill is organic and not deliberate. There's a lot of stuff that I'm doing without realizing that I'm doing it, which makes me not a particularly good practice partner, as Chuck will tell you. I'm often helpful, but sometimes I'm just winning and I can't articulate what's happening. And so what I find at tournaments is that I'll get to a turn and it'll be like, I need to do A or B, and I really think that A is right, but I don't know which one I should do. And I try to change that from the topic of whether A or B is right to why is A wrong. I try to make it more, I thought A was going to be the thing. It's not the thing. If it's not the thing, I must have good evidence. It's like, you know what it's like? It's like the NFL. They only turn over a call on a judge review if it's compelling that they were wrong, right? If they're not sure, they go with the original decision, because watching it in real time was what they had to do in the first place. And that's kind of how I feel about that. What would you guys say about that question?
Actually, I wanted to say first off, I think that's a really great way to handle it. Because on top of that, the thing you're telling yourself is that you believe in yourself.
Yeah.
Like the very nature of that is, I believe in myself. Can I prove myself wrong? Which is almost, even if I do prove myself wrong, well, then I've just proven how great I am at this other idea, right? Like, you're keeping it positive in your own brain, which is huge.
Well, I'm trying to do that, but yes.
Yeah.
So I would also say that the other side of that is you are setting yourself up for no matter what you're asking, a insightive question, something that you have control of. And so you're keeping it focused on I find it's very important to not get focused on the things you can't control in a game, because it can be very easy to be like, oh, he did this, I didn't anticipate that, blah 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 blah. Like, you can very quickly go down a path of focusing on what your opponent's doing. You're talking like your focus is very much on, I know that my instinct is right unless I can prove otherwise. What is the evidence? What is the contradictory? And if you can't come up with a good argument, you're saving yourself the economy of trying to go down every other path. You're just saying, is my first instinct right? If I can't prove it isn't, I'm not going to explore all these other options that might waste a lot of my mental energy.
And I'm going to toss one more piece on there.
Okay, and then I'm going to toss another piece too.
All right. I think the most important part of this is the most often given answer for any kind of 40K tactical advice is reps. And when you do the reps, try the crazy thing. Because if you even tried it just once when you get to a tournament, you'll have a better information about whether you should go to A or B. Kind of make wrong choices in your practice games to see what happens to gather information.
Yeah. I've spent a lot of my career, my non-40K career, my actual job career, consulting and interacting with business owners. And one of the things that really strikes you is that how much they would much rather do strategy than execution. And that's a real problem in the business world where everybody wants to talk about the best way to do something, but no one actually wants to do the thing. I'm sure you run into this all the time, Chuck. Like, let's have 4 meetings deciding the best way to do the thing.
I'm the do the stuff team, so yeah.
Yeah.
But still, I get a lot more than others do.
Yeah, exactly. So
it's the same thing in contracting. Like,
oh, sure, yeah. Let's spend all of our time planning. And so,
yeah. Everyone wants to talk about like how great something will look, and it's like, well, how do we make that happen? Like,
so in sales, I have a rule that I've done a bunch of training with salespeople, and I have a rule that is called the Collins 80% rule. And what it is in a sale, you're going to do everything you can to get it to an 80% chance that they're going to buy. Not a 90% chance, not a 95% chance, not a 98% chance. Because at that 80% mark, the difficulty of increasing the percentage chance for success is exponential, not linear. The amount of effort it takes you to get to 80% is significantly easier than the jump from 80 to 90. Why am I saying this? What the hell does it have to do with 40K? I think that most people are more worried about what the right decision is than executing well on the decision that they are going to make. And I think that Chuck and I have talked about this in other words before, but the way I processed what Chuck was saying is that I'm better at executing on the plan I have than coming up with the best plan. And so because of that, I try to go with the plan I know I could do as well. Because sometimes I'll go into a game and John Lennon or Nick Nanavati or some guy who's way better at 40K than me will say, no, this is what you do in that matchup. And I found that if that sounds uncomfortable to me, like I'm going to go into this tournament game and that sounds like a thing I'm not going to necessarily do well at, doesn't matter if that's the best plan. Doesn't matter at all. I have to be able to execute the plan.
Very similar in tone and idea to, you're better off playing the list you know than you are swapping to the new hotness at the last second.
Right.
Like you'll just do better.
Right. Okay. That was a fantastic final lightning round question. I'm not going to ask us anymore. I think that was great. We did go through 44 lightning round questions for those that are wondering.
Nice.
That's pretty great.
Seems pretty solid.
So before we wrap this up, a whole
lightning episode.
That's right. Before we wrap this up, 100 episodes is crazy. We've talked before about the fact that none of us have ever done a project outside of work that's gone on this long. Like, not parenting and stuff, but like actually like your kid's 18. That's impressive, but not what we're talking about right now.
They do a lot of that themselves. It's fine.
So I'd like us each to share our thoughts about this experience, and I'd like to feel comfortable to be vulnerable about it. And I will go first if you guys want me to, or I'll go last. What would be your preference?
Well, I'll hop in. How's that?
Go, do it.
So there's a lot of different things this podcast has meant to me. One, I think is hugely important. It gives me an immediate connection point to so many more people in the community. One of the things I love about gaming communities, I've played in lots of different kinds of games and all over the place, is the ability to connect with more people and make more friends. And honestly, I mean, if you're looking to get more of that, being on a podcast having like a community attached to that podcast is just an even better way to do that. Highly recommend. On top of that, I want to just list some of the side benefits I've got. Part of my job as managing people and stuff is giving presentations, is impressing others, is talking for an hour on my own without a lot of feedback. This has helped a ton with that. This is regular practice that's fun and comfortable, but it gets me comfortable talking and sort of going on a tirade or whatever and being passionate about something. So stuff like that makes a big difference. And then I guess in general, we've gotten to all know each other much better over the years. Like we've shared a lot of stuff, both inside 40K and outside of 40K with each other. I think I don't know. It's a great ride. I enjoy it a lot. And then you want to add on top of that, particularly for us with the Charity Hammer and the Hammer Out Cancer and stuff, we've done something another level above gaming with what we love, and then been able to share that with the community that we love in addition. I think it's life-changingly good.
Okay. Yeah. I like that. Mitch, do you want to go next?
Sure. Yeah, I think what you were saying about, how like none of us have really had like this type of a project maybe go to for this length or scale. Yeah, it's been an incredible journey. It's like I hadn't really looked back on it until today. I actually listened to your episode of the Game Changers on my drive home. I was just like,
Which
oh,
I
that'll be a
admittedly
great.
don't remember recording because it was so many months ago.
Yeah, no, but it was a great refresher of like the majority of the last 3.5 years, and it is really interesting to look at like a body of work and you have tangible results and a community that has spawned from that, and that is certainly something I've not experienced at this level, or like like certainly like again for the length of time, and like to see the fruition and like the amount that the community specifically of like the BIFPOD Discord and like the friendships and relationships that have spawned from that, and obviously Charity Hammer and everything else, but like just how much like putting in the effort and the time to continually show up, have commentary, have opinions, but also commit to be positive, at least in contribution, if not in tone all the time. But like that it's never a destructive or a tearing down. Like that was never what the point of the show was.
Mm-hmm.
And to see how that has manifested and what has come from that, I mean, it sounds easy to say humbled, but I am very like grateful and humbled, and personally like it's meant an immense amount to me, not being able to interact with the community in the same way on the tournament scene through my injury, being able to contribute to the podcast through judging and the community was a lifeline. Yeah, I couldn't really speak enough to
Yeah.
how hard it was to lose capability and still be able to feel valued in a community, and just the amazing people that we are so lucky to have as friends, and as a not just friendships, but as just true like truly a support group at times. It's been amazing, and I don't know what I would do without that through the hardest time of my life. I really don't.
For sure. I've seen, and like your story is I guess closer to me the most, but like even in our Discord I've seen that kind of thing helping people all the time, right? Like that community is so strong, and it's so good to be a part of it.
Man, that's a hard act to follow.
Yeah. Good luck.
Sorry.
Well, when I cry now, I'm not going to feel bad. So Mitch has really done me a solid. So I've done a lot of crazy projects. I'm the project guy. I'm the guy that says, let's do this thing. And I was really resistant to this. I really was. I didn't think that we had value to offer. And Mitch was, I would say, stubborn, to be honest, Mitch.
I'm very persistent.
You can be very persistent.
That as a part of Mitch.
You kept bringing it up, and I didn't know you very well. Like we knew we were friends, but we weren't close. Like we weren't super close at that time, and I didn't know exactly what it'd be like, and I didn't know what the value would be to me. I'm a performer by nature, and I love the spotlight, and I like talking, and I like sharing stories, and it's a lot for me about how other people interpret the thing I'm making more than it is about making the thing. Like if I never got feedback, I couldn't do the show. Like it's not that I need to be told I did a good job. It's that I need to understand what it meant.
Sure.
And so Mitch encouraged us to do this, and it was fun immediately. Like the first episode was a riot.
It was great.
It was
really
immediately fun. And we started doing it, and it was hard work. And I developed some community hatred for myself, and it was a bit of a roller coaster of me trying to figure out who is Colin, and not just who is Colin, but who is Colin publicly. How am I, like, a big part of my charm makes it sound so hokey. A big part of my personality is the fact that I'm genuine. Like I'm Colin, like all the time, for better or worse. And that's what people like about me. And it's also what some people don't like about me. And figuring out how to navigate that on the show while I started winning at a thing that I had no idea I was going to win at. Like, none. When we started doing the show, I had no illusions that I was going to end up being good at 40K. So we had this kind of journey where I was really soul searching. I said things on the show that people hated in the first year we did it. When I was winning with Yunari, I got hate mail. Not because of Yunari, but because people thought I was being a dick. And I had to kind of struggle through this thing. And there was a bunch of times where I'm like, I don't like 40K. It's too stressful. There's too much anxiety. I don't like doing the podcast anymore because I'm not enjoying how negative people are being about me. Maybe I am a dick. Like, I really had a hard time in that first year we did the show. And the community fixed it. Like, the community had my back and showed me so much affection and so much love that I had to keep trying. For you guys, because you guys kept telling me, yeah, it's annoying, but we really appreciate the journey you're on and the show that you're doing. So I had a chance to reinvent myself and how I'm seen publicly, and I don't have those complaints anymore. We don't get any of that about me anymore, and I would say that I'm more me now on the show than I've ever been. The Better Human, Better 40K stuff, there's nothing more Colin than that. Nothing. That's what I would much rather be talking about. I'd rather spend 3 hours talking about that than I would talking about 40K. I want us all to be great humans. I want us to be the best people we can be. I want, if any of you are a better human, by even 2% become from listening to this show, that's our legacy. That's what we leave behind. And so that's really, I really feel like me on this show. I feel like I get to come on this show. I don't even have to prepare very much. I'm just going to come on the show and I'm just going to be Colin. That's what I'm going to do. And it's going to be great because Chuck appreciates Colin and Mitch appreciates Colin. And I can just be me. And that's really hard for me because I have a personality that's polarizing. But as great as that journey is, there is nothing to compare with two things. The community's the first one. Charity Hammer. Holy cow. A weird idea that I had that really was an excuse to play 40K for a weekend without being interrupted, without sleeping. Like, that was really what it was. Like, I wanted to do something good. Sure. Yes. But for all honesty, I also wanted to have my really good friends over and play 40K all weekend. And somebody just said, I didn't like you very much at first. There's a lot of that. It's fine. It's okay.
I'll put this on the table. I didn't like you very much at first.
Yeah, well, I was a teenager. It was really bad.
But still.
Yeah.
Well,
so
let me put something very different on the table. As someone who became your friend and hosted a podcast with you during that first year, I had a lot of people who would have complaints or have opinions at the very least. And my response was always, listen, guys, I've never seen him do anything to like try and hurt anyone. Like,
ever.
He's always seems to be trying to improve himself. You got complaints with him, you can talk to him about it.
Yeah.
He's an adult. I'm not here to try and justify what he's doing because I haven't seen any problem with it. I don't really have any other response. So
yeah, it was just enthusiasm. That's all it ever was. I was just excited because I was doing well, and I had never had the recognition or the success at a hobby that I've had at 40K. I've never had that in my entire life, and to be honest, I didn't know how to handle it.
Well, and it's a perfectly reasonable explanation to be like, oh, you didn't have a skill set to handle something, and you learned it, and you grew as a person. Like,
yeah, great, right?
Like what's the problem?
So when I talk about the
played
community,
team sports as kids, but we did not.
No,
we learned it as adults playing 40K.
Yeah. So when I talk about the community, there's two parts to that. One is the Charity Hammer, which is just crazy. I can't tell you guys what that feels like. It's like when it's happening, it's like I'm in this vague dream state and then it's over and everyone's gone and I'm exhausted. Like it is the weirdest energy that I'm filled with when Charity Hammer happens. But it's really the whole community and their support of the charity and coming to us at tournaments, and almost every game of 40K is good. Like almost every game of 40K you play is with a person that is nice. And then the Discord. I have had a really bad mental health year. Really terrible. It's part of the reason why I've not been playing a lot of 40K. And the Discord has been there for me at every moment. I've talked about mental health drugs and therapy and COVID and managing a family through COVID and parenting and all of that. I've had massive support from the 40K friends, from a community that doesn't tear you down and doesn't judge me and doesn't tell me I'm a loser when I say I lost the ability to read for fun years ago and my brain won't do it and it frustrates me. And a bunch of nerdy friends that love books are like, well, you don't read books, you name. Like, no, none of that. No. Like, oh, that must be hard. Yes, it is. It is. So that's just been like the support I need I'm an extrovert a lot of the time. I need that social support, and I don't see anybody now because of COVID, and I can't imagine going day to day without having the Discord community and the 40K community and total there to support me, much like what Mitch was saying.
Yeah, I don't think I would have made it through COVID with mental health intact without this community.
Yeah, if you guys don't know this,
it's really important.
Therapists are having a hard time because everybody's mental health problems are going wackadoo because of COVID. Yeah. So marriages are ending like it's bad. People are killing themselves like it's bad. Mm-hmm. So, but the final thing I want to say is I'm a big, and this is going to be a weird pull, but I'm a big Penn and Teller fan. And I've heard Penn's podcast for years, and he always says, Teller's not his best friend. Teller's not his family member. Teller's not his brother. Teller's his partner. And that's a very special thing to him because he's done that for 40 years. And he talks about what it means. If you listen to Penn, he writes about in his book, he talks about how Teller's was the first one to know when Penn's wife was pregnant. Teller was at the hospital. He's Uncle Teller to the kids. But he's not a family member and he's not the best friend. He's the partner. And I didn't get what that meant. But as I was listening to Mitch talk on this show and listening to Chuck talk on this very episode, I was struck with what that means. We've made 200 to 300 hours of content together. Not counting Charity Hammer. I'm saying the three of us by ourselves with guests have made 200 to 300 hours of free content. And some of it's even good. No, I'm kidding. Lots of it is good. And there's a bond to that I feel with you guys. Where I think Mitch and I could have something come up and not see each other for 10 years. And then Mitch and I see each other 10 years from now, and we would get along effing great. And Chuck and I have an incredibly deep friendship that was built in part through the podcast because we've known each other a long time, but we didn't know each other like we do now.
Yeah, we've in fact had that decade of not knowing each other and then come back.
I was going to say,
almost
you guys
two.
Already done the scenario
almost 2
you
decades.
just proposed.
Yeah. So I think that I bring something to the show that is noticeable to the community because I'm the one organizing. But let me just say that the mellowness that Chuck brings, the insightfulness, the calmness that Mitch and I need from Chuck, the hobby focus, and the love of the game that goes on for decades, no one can do that for this show but Chuck. He's the only one who can do that, and he's the perfect person for it. Mm-hmm. And Mitch is a crazy potato that I love. And what I mean by that, Mitch, and we're all crazy here, I didn't mean it derogatory. What I mean is, you see the world as only Mitch does. You have a unique worldview about everything. 40K, politics, health, computers, all of it. You have a unique view, and you are really good at sharing it, and it often doesn't make sense to me when you start talking, and I love it because it does make sense when you're done, and I've usually learned something, and sometimes I've become a better person. You have this completely unique way of seeing 40K, of the world, and you find ways to contribute even when you can't contribute the way that you want, is the way I would turn around what you said. I
Yeah.
can't imagine that. I didn't imagine this was going to make it to 100 episodes, and I can't imagine that I would have done it without you guys, both of you. And so I really just wanted to share that, and I can't believe how emotional we're all getting, but that's fine. Because if any podcast is going to get emotional,
Yeah.
it's going to be us.
It's Warhammer 40k
Yep.
and been crying. That's what we do.
Yeah, we are effing grown-ups, and we have feelings, and if you have a
We
problem with
cry
that,
when we show our work.
and if you have a problem with that,
apparently, like,
you can go to the ban list.
Yep.
Okay.
I want to add to that. One of the things that I think I get a lot of value out of is every time Mitch comes up with a new list.
And they're bizarre.
I know. Like 3 things are going to happen. 1, I'm not going to understand. 2, I'm going to spend a bunch of time trying to figure it out for myself. And then 3, Mitch is going to explain it to me. And then sometimes 4, I'm going to get another level explanation when we get a game with each other. And I'm always excited because it's always the weirdest, craziest jank train, and I am happy to be on it.
Yeah.
Gotta blaze my own trail.
For sure.
And the final thing that I wanted to say is there was a moment where my anxiety got so bad at the table that I had to start talking about it, and we spent, I don't know, 3 episodes on it. And one of them, Adam Abramowitz came on and grilled me, asked me really hard questions, and did not let me interview him, interviewed me. And LVO was right after that. And one person used that to weaponize against me, but that's not the story we're telling right now. And this guy came up to me and said, "This is my first big tournament, and I'm here because of Best in Faction. And I have anxiety issues. And I wasn't going to come because this is all terrifying for me. And the idea that you have anxiety issues made me come." To LVO, sorry. Whoa.
Are we doing phrasing?
Maybe come to LVO.
Yeah,
And then he hugged me.
Displaced there,
This
man.
is a person with anxiety issues, and then he hugged me. He didn't ask, "Please don't hug me now, there's a pandemic." But he hugged me. And it was the most touching moment that was like, holy crap, we're not just talking about games. We're doing a thing here. And the thing that we're doing is significant, and I actually don't believe that anybody else is doing what we're doing. And I really value that. So that was my BIFPOD, the land of inappropriate commas. All right.
Just take all the commas out. It's more fun that way.
Yeah. So what are we going to do for the next 100 episodes? I have no idea because I don't come up with it ahead of time.
Yeah.
We are going to do Charity Hammer in the summer. That's going to be great. We're going to do a major tournament the week before Charity Hammer. That's going to be great. Everybody's going to be invited to that. We're going to call out the BIFPOD party. I might even call the major that. It's going to have food. It's going to have drinks. It's hopefully not going to have any COVID. And we're going to do that, and then we're going to do LVO. We're going to do what's it called? Charity Hammer the week after that. And that's going to be in the summer this year. I'm optimistic that we're all going to get to start going back to tournaments, and that's going to be a lot of fun. I'm also optimistic that one of my best friends, John Lennon's, about to win LVO. I'm calling it right now. John Lennon's going to win LVO, and Alex McDougall in the top 8. I'm calling both of those things.
Oh, what do you got there, Mitch? Who's you going to call?
Oh, I don't bet against John Lennon. Not
Not when life is on the line.
What?
Not when life is on the line.
No. Just in general, I have seen him play enough, and I know John well enough that I'm like, this is what he does, and I completely respect that. It actually helped me in my journey to be more to be less competitive, to be like, I cannot do what John does. John dedicates more time than I can, and I am not going to be able to replicate that, so the pressure is off.
It being his job and the fact that he doesn't sleep, he only 40Ks, that's really going to make it hard for us to catch up.
Yeah, it's just not going to happen. So I'm like, cool, pressure's off. Don't have to worry about it. He's got that covered. I think that we're going to see Jaime in the top 8.
Yeah, sure.
Well,
I don't know. Is he playing Space Wolves?
I mean, I hope so.
Okay, let's see.
Those would be my 2 main predictions. I would also put strong money on Anthony for making the top 8 as well.
Oh, I think
I
Thick
think
City's going to get wrecked. So I'm excited to
Thick
see
City, Thick City may get wrecked, and that's totally possible. But if there's one person who can navigate that,
Yep.
I think it's Anthony.
that. All right. Chuck, do you want to call it for someone
Yeah,
before we?
I gotta put it out for my world boss, Mark Perry. This is his year
Hell
to win.
yeah, hell yeah.
There's not
Love
even going
it.
to be anybody else in the top 8.
Oh,
He's just going to take all the slots and win.
he's just so manly that there's no
Yeah.
other space for
He's
anyone
going to win
else.
8 games at once.
Yeah.
It's going to be impossible to stop him.
Yeah, that's right.
Love it.
So I think the final thing that we have to do is thank them. I think that's the final thing we have to do. Like, there's a bunch of people watching right now at 9:30 at night on the West Coast, and then there's 4,000 people are going to download this roughly, and that's why we do it, right? So I can't thank you guys enough. I know that it's appreciated because you tell us, but we do this for you, and you tell us what you like and what you don't like, and we listen. And it's really, everybody says they have the best listeners in the world, and screw all those other people. We have the best listeners in the world.
We could take them in a fight. I believe in our Discord. Could take any other Discord.
We have a pretty strong military footing in the Discord too. So I feel like we're well prepared. But guys, we really appreciate it. This is 100 episodes. It's crazy. And if you made it to the end of 3.5, thank you even more. So thank you so much. This is one of the coolest things I've ever done in my entire life, and I hope to do another 100 episodes for you guys. In fact, I'd be pretty bummed if I didn't get to. So thank you, everybody. We'll be back in a few weeks where none of us cry, hopefully.
Well,
no
I
promises.
have one thing.
Okay.
If you have listened to all 100 episodes and you have not tried joining the Discord,
Oh man, that Venn diagram is fascinating. I would love to know
because
who's listened to 100 episodes and isn't a patron.
Yeah, like the amount of money you're spending on 40K and on tournaments, you
can throw us $5.
Just use it for charity hammer, guys. What?
You're saying they can throw us $5?
Well, no, I'm not saying the $5 is just there to pay for charity hammer and hosting the thing. Like, we don't see any of that for anything else. It's just for that. It's not for us.
To keep Nick and Mark in Strippers and Blow at Charity Hammer takes a bunch of money. Okay?
Yeah. Exactly. No, it is the most amazing community. It is literally a life-changing group of people you can interact with if you just want to come in with the right attitude and just and engage with them. That's all I'm trying to say. I'm not trying to say I literally don't even know the Patreon numbers. That's all Colin's department.
Just get in here. Come hang out.
Yeah.
There's about 170 patrons.
I will say there's one section that intimidates me and upsets me, and it's the hobby section. You guys are too good. I don't even know why I try anymore. I've just lost. No, I'm kidding. No, but it is phenomenal. Some of the stuff that people are putting out there. It is staggering.
We're starting to get good at using language to teach each other how to paint better too, which is this is the next level. We're starting to raise each other up.
Yeah.
It's that hobby section is going to get out of control.
Yeah.
I appreciate that I go in there and I say, I explain my problem and I'm treated with the level of knowledge I have. Right? People give me a thing that will push me a little bit, but no one goes the 7 steps that they know I'm not going to be able to do.
Nobody's just like, hey, wet blend that non-metallic metals.
But then
that'll help you with your wash.
But then Brian Ellis comes in and is like, I painted another face that looks like an actual human being. And I'm just like, okay, fine.
You're like, why do the eyes follow me wherever I am? I'm like...
There are times where him and I are painting the same faction or something.
Yeah.
And I go and I look at the models that he's painted the face on, and I can't see the model well enough to even comprehend where he painted things.
Yeah, it's just a tiny. I think he's actually stealing people and shrinking them down.
This is that's the most reasonable suggestion for how he does it that I've heard.
All right, guys. Thank you, everyone, and thank you, Brian, for being so great on our hobby channel, as well as Dan. And I'm forgetting so much Kim, and there's a bunch of great painters in there, and I'm going to forget everybody, but there's a lot of good ones in there. So thank you, everybody. And we'll be back in a few weeks. Everybody who's going to LVO, please stay safe. Please remember there's a pandemic. You can play 40K without bringing a potentially deadly virus home and giving it to your family. I promise.
Please have fun. I'll red card you. That's the deal.
Yeah, please have fun. Please enjoy yourself. Please remember that it's a game and try to enjoy every moment. Have a good one, and we'll talk to you all soon. Bye now.
Bye.
Bye. See you later.